The wait is over. Who will be drafted into the football world? Who will be the next Buddy? He started right here. Pick 4, 2004. The Bond, yep, pick 4 in 2013.
In 62 long years.
Danger, 10th in 2008.
Here's Dangerfield.
Pendlebury, 5th in 2005.
What a moment for the captain.
Hodgie was number 1 and Cyril number 12. Nat Fyfe, picked 20 in 2009, has gone on to win a Brownlow medal. They all started right here.
There's Pal Pepper.
Welcome to the 2017 NAB AFL Draft.
He's going for the check side and he's done it to perfection.
The path is waiting.
Big rundown tackle from Rayner.
The path to the big time. The path to greatness.
Won the Brownlow and won the premiership in the same week.
Good evening and welcome to Sydney, the New South Wales capital, playing host to the 2017 NAB AFL Draft. Fox Footy's coverage coming to you live from the Sydney Showgrounds. It's a picturesque backdrop for what surely is going to be a massive night for the AFL industry. Such a critical time for all 18 clubs, so important to get the selections right. And let's not forget the dreams of so many young men hoping to be realised tonight. Wherever you're watching from around the country, we wish you the best of luck. A quick snapshot of the early action. We've got the Brisbane Lions with picks 1, 15 and 18. The Dockers have picks 2 and 5. The Blues picks 3 and 10. And the Saints back-to-back with picks 7 and 8. Also some father-sons to keep an eye out for. Patrick Naish, possibly for Richmond. Tyler Brown for the Pies. And also Jackson Edwards for the Adelaide Crows. And some academy selections in the mix as well for the northern clubs, GWS, Sydney, Brisbane and the Gold Coast. Of course, don't forget about foxfooty.com.au. You can follow every single pick of the draft online via our live blog, a club-by-club report card immediately after the draft, and full profiles and descriptions of every single draftee. Well, there is a wealth of knowledge on our panel tonight. A couple of gentlemen from the class of 1993. Pick number 11, a young man that would prove to be a legend of the Western Bulldogs in Brad Johnson. And at pick 46, surely the bargain of the draft, a two-time premiership star with the North Melbourne Football Club in David King. And alongside him, the national talent footy manager from the AFL, Mick Ablett. Gentlemen, good evening.
Yeah, it's great to be here, of course, Jason. We love this night, the anticipation, the players that are in the room here, everyone watching at home waiting for their name to get called out, for their son's name to get called out. It really is a fantastic night, and we wish everyone all the very best, of course.
Exciting, very exciting, Jason. It's great to be here. Hamish Ogilvie, the National Recruiting Manager of Adelaide, put it best. He said, you trade for needs, but you've got to draft your stars, you've got to draft your talent. So there's some opportunity there today, hopefully for the top 4 or 5 and hopefully for my Kangaroos.
And the strength of this draft, Mick?
Yeah, well, this is where dreams are made, isn't it, Jason? Rest assured that once we get into the second and third, fourth rounds onwards, there's still plenty of talent on the board.
Well, in the meantime, let's take a look at the much-coveted top 10 picks. These are selections that clubs can build around, but as we've seen in years gone by, they don't always get them right.
Yeah, well, that's right. You got pick 1 there with the Brisbane Lions. Fremantle, important draft for them, of course, with their development phase of their football club, looking to grow over the next couple of years at pick 2 and pick 5. So a big draft for that footy club.
Well, it's going to be very interesting as it unfolds. A lot of talk about that going to be. Brad Johnson was a product of the Western Jets, if memory serves me correctly.
That's correct, yes.
One young man touted as a possible number 1 selection is Cam Rayner, also from the Western Jets.
And Rayner gets on running. Takes a couple of bounces along the outer wing at Simmons Stadium. Runs to 45 metres. All class Cameron Rayner.
The academy was really good. Like Mick Ablett, Luke Power, the main blokes there, they run it really, really well, and all the boys in there are awesome. So yeah, that was really good. Brad Johnson's there as a coach as well, and once I told him I was a Jets kid, we had that kind of Western suburbs connection. We had a photo of him and me when I was a little boy, and I showed him that as well, and we kind of got a good connection there. So got a nice friendship with Jono. So yeah.
Oh, very good, Jono. That was a fan. How long was he there?
Oh, yeah, it was great. It was a good laugh Cam and I had when he did show me that photo. No wonder he's a good player if he idolised me, though, growing up as a young man.
But there's been talk about 3 or 4 names as potential number 1s. He's only one of them.
Yeah, well, that's right. And you got, Luke Davies-Uniacke, he's right up there. Paddy Dow is another name that's been thrown around a fair bit. But Cam Rayner's the main one, I think, that everyone's really talking about, that explosive power that he's got. You can see his disposals there at average of 20. Loves his contested ball, loves getting on the outside and use that powerful run as well. So it's going to be a big future for this young man.
Yeah, and the interesting part is, I guess, the difference with Cam Rayner and the other guys you mentioned, like Davies-Uniacke, Dow, Chera, Brayshaw. Cam's more of that really special medium forward that's got the potential to kick 50 goals in a season, whereas guys, as you see on screen here, like Luke Davies-Uniacke, are more your pure midfielder.
It seems to be heavily weighted towards midfielders, particularly early in this draft, Mick.
It certainly is. You go through cyclical type years, Jace, and this is certainly a midfield draft. We go back 12 months and there were a lot more tools. We go forward another 12 months and it looks to be some real height about the 2018 draft. But this one, certainly dominated by some classy mids.
You see Paddy Dow there as well, Jason. He really matured over the last 12 months of football. He started to grow in his size of his body, which helped with the way that he plays his football. He loves getting in the clearances, winning the tough ball and getting it to the outside to the runners.
And Kingy, I think it's fair to say Brayshaw is one name that we're pretty familiar with. There's another one coming through, young Andrew.
Yeah, he's a star, there's no doubt, Jason. The boys have been showing his vision about these young lads. They can do it all, can't they? He's almost a complete player.
He is, and he's come from nowhere, really. 12 months ago, he was playing some pretty good footy, but he's absolutely rocketed and now being talked about as #1 pick. He's got a great balance of inside and outside football and ticks every box from a recruiting perspective.
So let's go back to looking at the #1 pick, the Brisbane Lions, from a philosophical perspective. Surely you take the best player, not what you think is the best fit.
Well, the go-home factor has become prevalent, hasn't it? We've seen a lot of clubs lose quality players through wanting them to leave for different reasons. There's a lot of finance involved, Mick, obviously, and there's a whole host of different factors as to why these guys have left. Do you think this will sway the Brisbane Lions with that first pick? Because I think they'll just pick the best player, trust the environment that they've set up, and I think Chris Fagan's done a fantastic job at rebuilding that club when you look at what they've done the last 12 months.
No, I disagree to an extent, Kingy. It has to play a part now. The go-home factor is huge. And if you look at a couple of names we've seen on the board there, Josh Shackey, Lockie Weller, it's definitely playing a part now within draft selection. So it's all good and well to back your footy club and back your environment, but geez, if they end up walking out the door in 2 or 3 years' time, it's going to leave a pretty big hole.
Well, we saw an early selection in Angus Brayshaw make an immediate impact at the Melbourne Football Club, and there's a very strong feeling that his brother Andrew will very much go down the same path.
Playing tack up with Hamish, my brother, was amazing. Getting to play with someone like that every week is just so good. We've just got that bond that will last forever.
Andy Brayshaw, great hand.
I probably realised I wanted to play AFL when Angus got drafted. Watching him get his name called out and walking onto the stage was it was amazing, and ever since then I've always wanted to do it, and hopefully that'll come true.
Brayshaw, well done, broke the tackle, had a bit of time, kicks a goal.
Angus has been amazing. After games, he talks about my strengths and weaknesses. He's got the time of day for everyone, and yeah, he's worked really closely with me this year. Angus has coped with his head knocks pretty well, I think. He was going through a couple and people were saying that he might, not be able to play again, but he took a couple of weeks off, put on a helmet, and since then he's come back and he's been playing really good footy, so I'm proud of him. Mum gets pretty frightened when Angus gets hit. I remember in his first game back, he copped a massive hit and fell to the ground, and I can't imagine how Mum was feeling then, but yeah, Dad seems pretty fine with it. There was plenty of scraps out the back. Mostly footy, a bit of basketball off the trampoline, and yeah, most of the time was just scrapping with each other.
Great tap from Hayes to the advantage of Brayshaw.
To get drafted would mean the world to me. It's a childhood dream, and being able to get paid for something that you love, it's just amazing, and yeah, so I'd be honoured to get my name called out.
So much at stake for the players. Of course, a great experience for the parents as well. Maybe it's a little easier when you're going through it second time around. The Brayshaw parents, Mark and Deborah, as we say good evening for the very first time tonight to Ben Dixon joining the coverage. Dicko, you've got a couple of probably not so nervous parents.
Yeah, not so nervous, Jason. Been through it before. Mark and Deborah. Brayshaw, I just want to start with you, Deborah. You've been through it before. Angus picked 3. Andrew touted as the top 5. How are you feeling tonight?
Well, not as nervous as Angus because he's sweating at home because Angus was 3 and he doesn't want Angus to go before him, so he's hoping after.
And also the potential of Hamish late in the draft, so it could be a bookend for the Brayshaws.
Yes, well, that would be a fairy tale if that happened.
And you've been heavily involved in the AFL, Mark. Any inkling to where he's going? You've obviously chatted to most of the clubs. Have you got a push to where he might lean to?
No, we're just talking off air. There's a lot of line and length cricket followers within the recruiting community, and I have got no idea. You know, there's a bit of speculation that could be interstate, and that would be good too. So we're flying blind.
It's a very successful draft for the Brayshaws. You were picked 6, Angus 3. He might get inside both of you.
Yeah, it's amazing. All my friends and teammates cannot believe that any of my sons are anywhere near the top handful because of my modest career. Deborah was a gun netballer, and they're all thrown to the dam.
What about when you're at home, Deborah? You're sitting around the table. Who dominates the conversations? Angus is still at home, obviously.
Just for the short time, yes, he's moving out soon. It's a round table conference. Everyone has their opinion, and yes, it's very robust at times.
Well, I know it's a nervous wait for you both. Appreciate your time, and good luck tonight. Back to you, Jace.
Thanks, Dicko. Need to get to a break. As we head there, we'll take this opportunity to have a look at another couple of young men with very good AFL pedigree in Patrick Naish and Charlie Spargo.
Phil Cracker, who pops it across, and Spargo running with the flight of the ball as marked.
I barracked for North Melbourne. Yeah, whole family barracks for North Melbourne. Got forced to. Said he had silky skills. Said he wasn't very quick, but he said he was a good kick.
Spargo has been a pretty good player for North Melbourne.
Mum actually just, for his birthday, got a big package of his games, so I've been watching a few games of his. He said he kicked 3 in his first game, but on the stats it said he only kicked 1. He'd love me to go north. He just wants to see me achieve my dream, so wherever I go, I'd be happy, whether it's in the state, whether it's in Melbourne, he'd be happy.
As Paul Spargo pops that one right through the centre, and North Melbourne have opened in brilliant fashion.
Shot was okay. It goes forward. Naish is a great finisher. He surely will kick the goal. He has. They're back.
Back for Richmond Tigers. Yeah, my old man played there.
Ball falls to Naish, who's front and square off the outside of the right. He slots it.
Shows me some tapes, telling all us how good he was. Match-winning forward pocket, that that one in the 95 final.
Marking contest. Naish, snapshot by Naish. He's coming around. It's a goal.
Yeah, I think him and my whole family would be pretty stoked. They're all mad Richmond supporters.
My favourite player is Dustin Martin.
My favourite player would have to be Dustin Martin.
I'd say Dustin Martin.
I'd say my favourite player is Dusty Martin.
2 on 1. Dusty.
After this year, I'd have to say my favourite player is Dusty Martin. You can't get tackled.
Martin, the little don't argue. Get away from me, young man.
The way he stiff arms and, yeah, kicks goals as well. You can play anywhere on the ground.
The inside-out bender, Dusty.
I like the way he just goes about it, I reckon. No fuss attitude. Probably the fend off, especially become a bit of his trademark, which makes it look very easy to do, but it's pretty hard to do, so probably his X factor.
Martin, there's the stiff arm again.
I just like how ferocious he is at the ball, and then how clean he is on the outside, and how damaging he is with his ball use, and then I guess it looks pretty cool how easily he fends people off and breaks tackle.
And gave it to Martin. He's seen off one in a second. Brilliant.
The fend off King. Martin, he fends off Ablett. Martin this time, surely Dusty will kick a go. He has.
Just love the way he goes about his footy. You can tell all his teammates just love him.
The 2017 Brownlow medal, Dustin Martin. Martin's got it, and Dusty hooking.
It's no great surprise, really, to see pick number 3 from the 2009 draft, Dustin Martin, the favourite of so many of the young men that are just about to start making their way in the world of AFL. He's already had a great career, but what a season he had in 2017. It really was a year for the ages. In fact, he just won everything. Now, if you're wondering which picks your club has in this year's draft, want to know more? We're going to show you the selections of each of the 18 clubs. And Jono, some have invested heavily in the draft and some, I guess, did a little bit more work in the trade period.
Yeah, definitely, Jason. You can see all the picks there for every single club. Hawthorn will come in at pick 43, of course. They'll consider in their own mind O'Meara being a first round. Impey, who they've got during the trade period, that'd be their second round type pick. So they started at 43. Port Adelaide, they got Rockcliffe, Watts, Motlop and Trengove into their footy club. So they start at pick 46. Got a lot of picks there between 46 and 62. And of course, you've got Fremantle with 9 picks there in the draft. A couple of early ones as well that they'd like to get right.
So some important picks there, Kingy, and we know how critical it is for each of the clubs, but for some, there's even more at stake, isn't there?
It's a big night for some specifically, and we talk about Brisbane Lions. We've talked Lions selections 1, 15 and 18. They've got a real opportunity to build off what last year was 3, 17 and 23. Some stars, some young stars up there. An awesome season. If they can do that again and get their picks right again this year, they're right on track. Fremantle 2 and 5. What do you think will happen there, Mick? Will they take the best player at pick 2 and maybe stay local for pick 5?
Well, this is where we had that debate earlier, isn't it? I think it's a huge risk for the Fremantle Footy Club if they do happen to go with interstate players at pick 2 and pick 5. Now, it's interesting because someone like an Aaron Norton or an Oscar Allen doesn't necessarily warrant going at 5, but if we happen to get 2 or 3 years down the track and pick 2 and pick 5 want to go home, it could be an absolute disaster for the Fremantle Footy Club.
I'm sure they'll get it right. Pick 4 for me, for the North Melbourne Football Club's huge, Jay. It's a club, at the bottom of a rebuild. We know what they're doing. The vision's clear. But that selection, there's guaranteed to be a star still at that position, Mick. We know that. Which way they go will be interesting. But the pressure on that pick, I think, will be substantial.
Absolutely. They've got to get some genuine class back into that North Melbourne footy list, and they've made it clear they're in the rebuild phase after guys like Boomer, Harvey and Drew Petrie and that move on. I've got a real genuine interest in what the Saints do, boys, at pick 7 and 8. They've had a couple of years where they've gone really well with the likes of a Jade Gresham and Jack Billings that have come in and played early. And there's been a couple of years, like last year, we haven't seen a lot of Long yet. We haven't seen a lot of Goddard from a couple of years ago. So the Saints will be looking to get a couple of players in that can come in, play and impact early.
What about the Pies with pick 6? Do they go for the speed of Stephenson? Do they go for the class of Chera? What do you think? Your thoughts? You tossed up Darcy Fogarty. He might be a wild card.
Yeah, well, look, I've made no bones about it. I still think Darcy Fogarty's the best player in the draft, and his situation's very similar to what Sam Petrevski-Seton was last year, in that it was injury interrupted, form wasn't great, but you could certainly do a lot worse than Darcy Fogarty.
West Coast manoeuvred some early selections and some future picks to get a glut of picks between 13 and 37. Do you think that they'll stay local? I mean, you've spoken a lot about this already. Do you think that they'll reward some mature age talent?
Yeah, well, the West Coast Eagles have had a pretty good track record, haven't they, of interstate talent staying within their footy club. But then, as you mentioned, Kingy, you've got the likes of guys. Brandon Starcevic is certainly going to be in the mix at a few of those picks around the late 20s, early 30s. Is it a mature age, a Tim Kelly, a Liam Ryan that have had fantastic seasons in the waffle? So I think you'll find there'll be a bit of a mix in all those West Coast picks.
Really looking forward to your insight tonight, Mick. You're about to head off and join the commentary team that also includes the AFL's national and international talent manager, Kevin Sheehan, and will be headed by Sarah Jones, who we say good evening to for the first time tonight.
Thank you very much, Jason. Kevin, the panel has spoken about the midfielders that we can look forward to seeing tonight. What about the key position players?
Yeah, Sarah, I'm really bullish about the potential of the key position guys. Guys like Aaron Norton from WA, from Peel Thunder, that won the most valuable player in the under-18s this year. He's still not 18 years of age. And of course, Darcy Fogarty, the boy with the Vice-like group from South Australia, from Glenelg, and impressed on his senior debut this year. And then Jared Brander, he's a local here from New South Wales, from Wentworth, just over the border. And he's a boy that can play at both ends of the ground. He's grown to 195 centimetres, so he's the ideal size, and I think he's got a lot of attributes to be a star of the game.
Brander, the ultimate swing man, and that is so valuable to clubs. Tell us a bit about the season he's had this year.
Well, just pick 2 games. The first game of the Nationals, he played in defence. His intercept marking was sensational. He set up the play from down there. And then 4 games later, the last game He played for the Allies against the unbeaten side from Vic Metro. He played key forward, took 9 marks, kicked 3 goals and set the win up for the Allies. So they're 2 great performances at 2 ends of the ground.
Your 25th draft tonight. You've seen a lot of #1 picks over the years, and they've been able to deal with the pressure and expectation in various ways. Andy McGrath for the Bombers last year, so superb. How do you expect this current crop to adapt?
Well, we hope they can do an Andy McGrath and be a rising star, and I think they can be. These midfielders particularly will be ready to run game one. Some of the key position boys will take a little bit of time, so be patient with them. They might be like a Nick Revolt that takes a year to be a rising star.
Plenty of dreams have come true during those 25 years. I look forward to sitting alongside you as the picks are selected tonight, Chase.
Thank you, Sarah. We'll head back to the commentary team a little later on as the night unfolds. But exciting now to welcome a man making his on-air debut. He's the senior AFL analyst for Champion Data. We just call him the guru, Glenn Luff. Luffy, great to have you on board this evening.
Thanks, Joe. It's good to be here.
And pertinent that you're sitting alongside Kingy because the two of you have spent so many hours going over the Fox Lab rankings. Tell us about them.
Well, we base everything obviously off the numbers, but we look at the vision and the combine results. We haven't got the access to the interviews and all those psych tests and stuff like that. So we've done over 1,000 games per year. So we've based it on AFL game trends, combine results, and as I said, no emotion, no interviews, and no team needs. So there might be players that should have gone because of a particular position, but we haven't taken that into account.
There's no projection in this. It's just based on what we know, Jason. They're 17, 18 years of age, so much can change. We see a player like Nathan Fyfe who can put on 20 kilos from going to a club. A lot of these players, Jono, as you know, grow 2-3 inches in one summer, so a lot can change.
And it's where the game goes as well, Kingy, because we look at Richmond now, the small forward pressure, a lot of pressure around the ball, but it's where you see the game in 2 or 3 years' time as well that could judge a selection, and that's where it comes into it.
Intelligence has been very hard to get from the clubs, Jason, but Riley Beveridge has done a fantastic job of putting his fandom draft together of his top 50 on foxfooty.com.au. Here it is here. This is obviously with quite a bit of information that you guys have had at Champion Data as well, Luffy, but you can see there's a lot of smalls in this draft. There's 6 under 178 centimetres in the top 30. The talls have slipped down, which is probably something we haven't seen before, Luffy. There's only a couple inside that the top 20, where once upon a time they were in the top 5 or 6.
Yeah, and that's where the game's gone the last couple of years with the Bulldogs and Richmond. And, someone like a Sam Hayes would have been a top 10 a few years back, but he's been projected a bit later.
So that's through the eye of what the clubs are seeing and the intelligence that they've built up over 3 to 4 years, Jason, and that'll be probably more likely to be more accurate than the Champion Data or the Fox Lab version. But what we've done with that information is put together 100 names. Yep. And hopefully through the course of the night, you'll see a few of these guys that we've highlighted either slide down. Say Jack Higgins there, might end up going pick 15. Or if you're sitting at home and he goes to your club, you say, that's a steal. That's a real win for us. There'll be a couple go the other way, Luffy, that'll spike up and maybe clubs see something in them that we haven't seen or hasn't really come up in the numbers as yet, but it could work in reverse.
Yeah, it could work in reverse, and we'll see Nathan Murphy pop up on the next screen, but he'll probably go earlier than what we've got with the lab rank.
So is it like a Caleb Daniel? Is he the one from a couple of years ago, played for SA, small type player, but racked them up, was very effective, high super coach type points?
Yes.
Is that the prime example of what you're trying to say here? Maybe even for Jack Higgins, who you ranked #1.
Yeah, he's the poster boy, Caleb Daniel, for Champion Data. Yeah, he was in the pick in the 40s. There was talk of him being a rookie, but obviously he's had a really good start to his career.
There's always a bolter, Kingy. Who's the wild card this year?
Well, there's great vision to watch of all these young kids, Jace, but there's one that's caught my eye. A young fella from West Australia, Liam Ryan. Now, I'm not sure whether you've seen this vision or not, but can he take a hanger? He kicked over 70 goals in the Waffle. He's an excitement machine. He's one that just could go anywhere in the draft. You're not sure where he sits. Does he stay in Western Australia? Do the Eagles have a look at him? Do the Fremantle have a look at him? I'm not sure, but what he can do with the football, Jason, is unbelievable.
He's an excitement machine, isn't he? It's interesting, as we're watching some of his highlights, he's that mid-sized forward too he's good in the air, he's good on the ground, he's obviously a very good finisher, so we'll keep an eye on him. Jack Graham's an interesting one when we talk about the rankings as opposed to where he actually ended up going in terms of the draft numbers.
Yeah, he had an outstanding junior career. He was captain of SA, and look, he got a lot of the footy, inside player, tackle, and that's why we had him 24. He drifted into the 50s, and we know what happened on grand final day.
We went 53 in the end. So on the numbers or on the data, he's rated in the mid-20s. So to get a player like that in the 50s with a canny selection by the Richmond Football Club, and all credit to them, and what he produced through the finals was just unbelievable.
It was, but he set this up, Kingy, in his draft year because he got it right upstairs in terms of the professionalism required, and it took him till his draft year to really understand how to get himself fit, get that endurance up to the level so he could compete on a regular basis. Then his first pre-season at Richmond grew that again. Later in the year, obviously comes in and has an impact, and a big impact on grand final day.
So we're hoping that the Fox Lab is a complementary stat, Jace. It's not the be-all, end-all. It's just one of those extra bits of information, another layer, if you like.
All right, we've got the start of the draft coming up on the other side of the break. Before we go, a young man that was ranked number 24 in the Fox Lab rankings. He was the captain of Vic Metro, and he shares his name with a very famous cricketer. This is Joel Garner.
Well read though by Garner. Garner, well done. Finds his skipper, Joel Garner. Been good, Joel Garner.
Yes, I do know I'm going to share the name of Big Bird, Big Joel Garner. So I think Dad and Mum did it deliberately. I think Mum really liked it because it was his nickname, but I think Dad wanted a bit of fun with it. He was always named Joel from his mates at school, so when I run into his mates around the traps or whatever, they always call him Joel, and I turn around and get awkward.
Garner to border. Oh, and that's a nasty one. It's got him right in the ribs. Like Joe, that'll knock a bit of wind out of him.
Yeah, I've seen footage of him play. It was a gun. Only highlights, but, you know, when his stock ball's chin music, it's pretty scary.
The iconic Sydney Opera House and the Harbour Bridge. It really is a stunning backdrop for the 2017 NAB AFL Draft, coming to you live from the Sydney Showgrounds. And the time for waiting is over. We need to get the draft underway, so let's head straight on stage and join Anthony Hudson.
Thank you, Jason, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 2017 NAB AFL Draft. Well, to get proceedings underway here live on Fox Footy, I'd like to welcome the CEO of the AFL, their Chief Executive, Gillan McLachlan, who will announce the top 10 picks.
Thank you, Hutto. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Sydney for the 2017 NAB AFL Draft. On behalf of the AFL, I'd like to acknowledge and extend our thanks to the New South Wales Premier, Gladys Berejiklian, the Minister for Trade, Tourism and Major Events, Adam Marshall, and CEO of Destinations New South Wales, Sandra Chipchase, for helping us bring the 32nd annual NAB AFL Draft back to Sydney. I'd also like to thank our partner, NAB, represented tonight by General Manager Brand Experience, Michael Neros. NAB's support of the AFL Rising Stars program is pivotal to our ability to create a world-class talent pathway for young footballers, of which the draft is the culmination. Crucial for our game's growth, we must ensure each generation of players coming through the junior and community pathways are given the best opportunity to reach their potential, both on and off the field. NAB's support of the AFL and these programs allows young players to realise lifelong dreams of becoming professional footballers. And tonight, that dream becomes a reality for a selected group of young men from around the country. To all of the players, their parents, waiting nervously for their names to be read out, I wish you all the best of luck. Tonight, I know, represents a significant milestone in your lives. It's a chance to reflect on what you've accomplished and the sacrifices you've made to this point. Enjoy the moment. But also, make sure you take the time to thank your family, your friends, your coaches, and all those who've helped you pursue this dream. I'd also like to welcome the officials from all of our 18 clubs who have put so much work and preparation into tonight across the last 12 months. Good luck. It's a very important night for your clubs and clearly for your supporters. As this is the first official meeting since the Toyota AFL Grand Final, I want to congratulate Damien Hardwick and the Richmond Football Club for winning the club's 11th premiership. It was 37 years in the making, but the Yellow and Black Army would all agree, I think, it was worth the wait. I would also like to acknowledge the Adelaide Football Club for their extraordinary season and for making the grand final, and the 6 other finals who made September so memorable. Finally, to the newest senior coach in the competition, Stuart Dew. Congratulations on joining the ranks of our senior club coaches, and I wish you all the very best for next year. Finally, before we get underway, I will need to briefly talk you through the rules of the draft. The draft selection number and the name of the club will be called out according to the draft order. Each club will have 2 minutes to electronically submit their selection for approval by the AFL administration team. If requested, an extra 2 minutes will be granted. All clubs must make a minimum of 3 selections, which can include a promoted rookie. I note that 11 players have been promoted from clubs' rookie lists already, and these players will not be read out tonight. If another club bids for a father-son or academy or NGA nominee, the club which nominated that player will have the opportunity to match the bid. The draft order may change if a club is successful in matching a bid for a nominated academy, NGA or father-son player, as doing so may include the use of more than one draft selection. Once a club passes on a selection, it is excluded from further involvement in the draft. So, to those who are lucky enough to be selected, congratulations. The opportunity in front of you now is earned and not gifted. Your new coach, teammates and club will give you all the tools required to be successful. The rest is up to you. Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you, Gillen. And before we hear who is the #1 draft pick of the 2017 NAB AFL Draft, let's take a closer look at the next generation being drafted this evening into the Australian Football League.
Apart from Angus, my favourite player would be Rory Sloane. The way he goes about it on and off the field, he's just great to watch. He tackles really hard, which I reckon is worth its weight in gold.
With Toby Green, just the way he can kick a goal, take a good grab for a smaller player.
I try to model my game a bit on Nat Fyfe, just his attack on the ball, whether it be in the air, on the ground, pretty ferocious at all times at the ball.
Dana Murphy, just the way he can play tall and small in defence and rebounds off the back line.
I try to play as much like Dangerfield as I can. I'm still not like that at all, but yeah, he's a good role model. Just the way he takes it on and bursts out of a stoppage. Isn't afraid to make mistakes.
I model my game on Christian Petrarca, the way that he can have an impact forward and mid and bounce from both during the game. So
I model my game on Luke Parker, the way he can get the inside ball, get it out to the running players and also go forward and kick some goals.
David Mundy would be the player that I'd model myself around, big midfielder. I think he can play either end and then he plays in the midfield as well.
I've been referred to as plays similar like Scott Penderbury, so I like to watch him pretty closely, and it's like the way he's not the fastest bloke, but he looks like he's got a lot of time, misses clean disposal, so I like to relate my game to him.
Probably one player I try to model my game on is Patrick Cripps. I guess we're similar body shape and size, and he's really good inside the contest and distributing the ball, so I watch a fair bit of him.
Well, tonight we're going to be celebrating each of the top 10 picks individually. They'll get to meet their coach here tonight. So just please note that when each pick is announced, the next club is automatically on the clock. Well, the waiting is over. Pick #1, the Brisbane Lions Football Club, are on the clock.
All right, so pick #1 for the Brisbane Lions, and you wouldn't think that'd take too much time here.
No, you wouldn't think so.
No, and the interesting part is, though, boys, I mean, we've spoken, there's a few players in contention, but if they miss out at one, it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to go next.
I'm not sure what they're all smiling about. Maybe just making sure they press the right numbers.
Maybe they're delaying kicks deliberately.
Building suspense.
That's it.
Yeah, Swanee would do that too.
It certainly took them, Jason, till Wednesday to make their mind up. So
Yep.
people would think that maybe it's a month ago or 2 weeks ago, so they're very thorough. We're about to find out.
All right, pick 1 is in. Let's go to Gil McLaughlin.
With pick 1 of the 2017 NAB AFL Draft, the Brisbane Lions have selected Cameron Rayner from the Western Jets Football Club.
Well, he's a genuine match winner, and Cam has torched opposition defences with some of the most dominant forward performances of recent times. From standing on their heads to dishing out the occasional don't argue, he's repeatedly left opponents looking for answers. Whilst he still has a way to go though, his trademark power and explosiveness has drawn comparisons to Richmond superstar Dustin Martin. No more so than his 16 disposals, 5-goal performance during the NAB AFL Under-18 Championships against South Australia on his way to collecting All-Australian honours. Cameron Rayner is guaranteed to be a human highlight reel.
Well, let's make welcome to the stage the coach of the Brisbane Lions, Chris Fagan, and with him, the #1 draft pick for 2017, Cameron Rayner. Well done, Cameron. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Come in. A lot of conjecture, of course, about who would be #1. When did you know that you were going to be #1?
Oh, I figured out probably about 20 seconds ago. So May just come up to me before and said that it looks like it's going to be the case. So yeah, just really excited and happy to be a part of the Brisbane Lions.
Well, describe that feeling a bit more for us. What's it like to be the #1 draft pick?
Yeah, I think it's just a big honour to see some of the banners up here and see the players who have been pick 1 before me. So I think now it's just got some big shoes to fill and I just want to start working and get into it.
And the Brisbane Lions, as you mentioned, it is an exciting time. We've already seen some young players and they've made some real progress, and that must be a great prospect for you.
Yeah, definitely some good young talent there, and I think over the trade season, besides having that #1 pick, they also got some good players in Luke Hodge and Charlie Cameron. So yeah, I'm just really looking forward to getting there to meet everyone and start to work.
And you've been compared to Dustin Martin. Do I have to worry about a fend-off there? Or?
No, it's all right. You're safe here, mate.
Well, congratulations. It's a fantastic honour and exciting times ahead. Let's welcome Michael Neros, the General Manager of Brand Experience of NAB, to present you with your NAB portfolio to help you on your way.
Cheers, thanks,
and enjoy the night and all that's ahead. It's a great journey.
Thank
Cheers.
You. Thanks for that.
Cameron Rayner, everyone, the #1 draft pick for 2017.
So the Brisbane Lions have named their man, and I don't think it's any surprise whatsoever that they settled on Cam Rayner.
I'd call him a curial player. He can do it all. So he's innate ability to round goals. He's spectacular in the air. He's got it all.
All right, the Fremantle Dockers have picked #2. They have made that selection. Let's go back to Gil.
With pick 2, Fremantle Football Club have selected Andrew Brayshaw from the Sandringham Dragons.
Boasting an incredibly high football IQ and an insatiable inner drive to be the best, it's not difficult to see why Andrew Brayshaw was summer footy's hottest property, now going at pick #2. He repeatedly displays an outstanding balance of inside and outside midfield craft, one of the cleanest ball handlers in the draft. He rarely fumbles, makes smart decisions and brings others into the game. Following in the footsteps of his older brother Angus, there's no doubt this young star will soon be forging a path of his own at the game's highest level.
And would you welcome to the stage the coach of the Fremantle Dockers, Ross Lyon, and with him, his new pick at selection 2, Andrew Brayshaw from the Sandringham Dragons. What a season he's had to finish. Exciting times ahead at Fremantle. We'll see Ross again shortly.
Well, we heard a little earlier on, his father went at 6, his brother went at 3. He's beaten them both. He's gone at #2. And he was in the chat about #1, and he's one that really bolted in recent times, isn't he? He's come way up the list.
Yeah, and you can see why. I mean, he was actually awarded the captain of Team Emrite in the NAB AFL All-Stars Gaming Grand Final week, which is a credit to his character and the leadership. He's just a great all-round footballer.
All right, pick #3, the Carlton Football Club has been made.
With pick 3, the Carlton Football Club have selected Paddy Dow from the Bendigo Pioneers.
Well, for Paddy Dow, it's bursting out of the centre in trademark fashion. It's kicking goals on the run. He has elevated his game and is now one of the most sought-after midfielders in the draft. Carlton will be very happy with this selection. Humble, modest and genuine are all attributes that sit comfortably with this future leader. A season-ending shoulder injury, though, suffered in round 16. It cut his season short, but not before earning All-Australian honours for an outstanding NAB AFL Under-18 Championships. He averaged 19 disposals and 1 goal across 4 games.
And joining us now is the coach of the Carlton Football Club, Brendan Bolton. A big smile for Brendan as he welcomes his new charge, Paddy Dow, good Swan Hill boy from the Bendigo Pioneers. Exciting times at Carlton. We'll see Brendan up here again shortly. We wish Paddy all the best with the Blues.
Well, we spoke about 4 young players in the battle for pick number 1, and 3 of them have gone 1, 2 and 3, and I think the Blues have got a beauty in Paddy Dow.
They have, Jace. The last game I saw, and Jono mentioned it just before against Gippsland Power, he had 35 disposals and 6 clearances in one of the best individual performances I've seen.
All right, the next selection is in straight away. North Melbourne ready to go with pick number 4.
Pick 4, the North Melbourne Football Club have selected Luke Davies-Uniacke from the Dandenong Stingrays.
Oh, this young man will slot straight into the midfield for North Melbourne. A smooth moving midfielder, game-changing capabilities. He continually stood up on the big stage. His best, a 33 disposal game in an elimination final against the Eastern Rangers, where he single-handedly dragged them across the line. He's a goal-kicking midfielder as well. The capacity to play inside and out. Has a level of class which has seen him clearly ranked at the top of this year's draft and can kick him from anywhere, including this beauty from the boundary.
And joining us is the coach of the North Melbourne Football Club, and he's about to meet his number 4 pick. Brett Scott is joining Luke Davies-Uniacke. A rare top 5 selection for North Melbourne. I'm sure Brad can't wait to see Luke get out on the track, and we wish them all the best for season 2018.
So Davies-Uniacke, the 4th of those names, all discussed for the top pick, so there's no surprises with the first 4.
He become known as LDU, don't worry about that. And this boy's got it all. He performs in the big games. He did it with the All-Star game in the MC Grand Final day, and North would love to see him back there one day.
We mentioned the Dockers had a couple of early picks. They also have pick number 5, and it has been selected.
Pick 5, Fremantle have selected Adam Chera from Eastern Rangers Football Club.
After overcoming an ACL in his 17th year, he's quickly established himself as one of the most prolific ball winners in this year's draft. His class has shone through in his ability to hit targets by hand and foot, playing in the midfield, also creating opportunities and impacting the scoreboard up forward. The versatility Adam has shown over the past 12 months has been outstanding. His strength of character has ensured this young star's flame was never going to burn out.
And Ross Lyon returns to the stage, welcoming his 2nd pick in the top 5, and that, as you heard, is Adam Chera. Two top 5 picks for the Dockers, and lots of young talent assembling in Perth. A big future ahead for Adam and Fremantle.
Exciting times for Dockers fans. Andrew Brayshaw at pick 2 and now Adam Chera at pick 5, and is being dominated by midfielders. Pick 6 is already in. The Pies are ready to go with their first selection in the 2017 draft.
Pick 6, Collingwood Football Club have picked Jaden Stevenson from Eastern Rangers Football Club.
Don't worry, he's fit and healthy and ready to have an impact at AFL level. This young star has the capacity to make the difficult look oh so simple. Impacting the scoreboard comes naturally to Jaden, as witnessed in his best on-ground display against South Australia at the NAB AFL Under-18 Championships. He booted 5 majors to go with 20 classy disposals. Gifted is a term often associated with Jayden, and whether that's creating something out of nothing, forward 50, or cutting a swathe through the midfield, it's not hard to see why.
Great to see Nathan Buckley, the coach of the Collingwood Football Club, and I'm sure he can't wait to get his hands on the talented Jayden Stevenson, who joins him here now as pick number 6. A big year ahead for the Pies and for Nathan and also for Jayden, and we wish them all the best.
It's a really interesting selection, Jayden Stevenson, and we'll talk about him a little later on, Kevin, because there's an interesting backstory there. But the Saints have got 2 picks inside the top 10. Their first is pick 7, and it has been made.
With pick 7, the St Kilda Football Club have selected Hunter Clark from the Dandenong Stingrays.
Well, he's tough, he's competitive, he plays in the midfield, consistently wins his own ball. Hunter is at his best when he's cutting opposition teams up with his trademark run through the midfield of the ground and using the ball with effectiveness, pushing through forward 50. He's strong overhead for his size. He can always push forward and provides a difficult matchup in the air. He's a known goal kicker, he's a clearance specialist and a player with ability to dispose on either side of his body. Hunter Clark is your modern-day midfielder.
And with the first of 2 selections, it's the St Kilda coach, Alan Richardson, and he welcomes Hunter Clark to the stage as he's pick 7. Sure, Richo can't wait to get Hunter and who else he picks up next into action with the Saints.
Great to see Mum holding back the tears as well. Isn't it an emotional time for the families? The first of 2 picks for the Saints. It is a top 10 flush with quality midfielders. They have pick 8 as well, and they're ready to go again.
With pick 8, the St Kilda Football Club has selected Nicholas Caulfield from the Northern Knights.
One of this year's most improved players, Nick took his game to a whole new level. A strong one-on-one player that rarely loses a contest. He led the Vic Metro defence in superb style and was integral in their NAB Under-18 title. His intercept marking is only made more dangerous by his willingness to utilise his explosive leg speed and precise delivery into the forward line. Awarded All-Australian honours at this year's NAB AFL Under-18 Championships, he also developed another string to his bow by drifting into the midfield at times with great effect.
And Alan Richardson returns to meet the second of his top 10 selections, Nicholas Caulfield from the Northern Knights, as the Saints push for a final spot in 2018 and beyond. And we wish the Saints all the best, their fans. Looking forward to seeing Nicholas in action very shortly.
Great news for the Saints, and great to see a player other than a full-time midfielder picked inside the top 10.
But he still can go to the midfield. He's a boy that probably plays across half-back the best, but he's even gone forward this year, kicked important goals to win games as well.
All right, the Western Bulldogs are ready with selection number 9.
With pick 9, the Western Bulldogs have picked Aaron Norton from Peel Thunder.
And also the emphasis has shifted slightly. Picks 8 and 9 going to defenders, so an emphasis on quality defenders. Well, pick number 10, the second pick for the Blues, has already been made. Let's head back on stage.
With pick 10, Carlton Football Club have selected Lockie O'Brien from the Bendigo Pioneers.
Oh, he looks very happy, and he should be, joining the Carlton Footy Club. He's a silky outside midfielder with an elite left foot boot. He can play multiple roles to great effect, whether it's rebounding off half-back, playing the link role off the wing. He's penetrating and often radar-like kicking, has the capacity to do serious damage heading inside forward 50. Smooth moving and possessing plenty of time with the ball in hand. He rarely wastes a possession. His decorated athletics background, which included third at the National Championships over 400, and this will assure the young man will have no problems keeping up with the best AFL midfielders.
And Carlton coach Brendan Bolton returns to the stage, and he'll be joined by selection 10, also from the Bendigo Pioneers, the second pickup from the Pioneers for the Blues, Lockie O'Brien. Bendigo, a very fertile recruiting zone for Carlton in years gone past. Good luck for the Blues.
So it's Carlton and Lockie O'Brien rounding out the top 10, effectively 8 midfielders and 2 classy defenders.
And O'Brien, think Nick Del Santo, another boy that years ago was an early draft choice to become a champion player in the AFL, left footer, similar traits to Lockie O'Brien.
Any surprises, Mick?
Well, the talk around Lockie O'Brien 12 months ago was that he was a legitimate top 10 pick, and you know, I think even Lockie would agree he probably didn't have the season he really wanted to in 2017, but obviously the Blues have looked back at that period and realised that you don't lose your talent, and they still viewed him very highly.
They look like 10 quality young players. Jono, I'm concerned about the forwards in the class of 2017. Where are they?
Yeah, well, they're to come. Don't worry about that. They'll continue to roll out. Oscar Allen will probably be the first of those. I think he's an absolute star in the making. Look out for him in 2 to 3 years' time. Once his name is called out, you'll be able to create a forward line around this young man, I think. And St Kilda's important there. They've got the midfielder in Hunter Clark. They've got the general defender in Nicholas Caulfield, especially with Lee Montagna hanging up the boots.
And shifted, do most of these players look capable of coming in and having an immediate impact at senior level?
Jace, that stands out to me. They're ready to run. They win their own footy, the majority of these, including Norton across half-back. O'Brien is the one, probably more outside than inside. So if you win your own in a contested situation, you can step up straight away.
Now tell us about Jaden Stevenson. We mentioned there was a very interesting little backstory there. A minor heart condition which had been cleared by all the specialists, but there was suspicion that it may have scared off a few clubs. Didn't stop Collingwood jumping in at 6, did it?
No, and that's about the right spot. I thought he was always a very early call, and the clubs have dismissed that. Something irregular in ECG, but that was proven to be nothing at all, and we just move on, and he's going to play straight away, that boy.
All right, let's go back to Anthony Hudson for the presentation of the top 10 of 2017.
Thank you, Jason. Yes, let's welcome back to the stage the top 10 draft picks in the NAB AFL Draft for 2017. Number 1, Cameron Rayner joins the Brisbane Lions. Andrew Brayshaw from the Sandy Dragons to Fremantle. Paddy Dow from Bendigo becomes a Blue. Luke Davies-Uniacke joins North Melbourne. Adam Chera goes to Fremantle. Collingwood with selection 6, Jaden Stevenson. Pick 7, Hunter Clark joins St Kilda, as does Nicholas Caulfield. At pick 8, Aaron Norton from Peel Thunder joins the Western Bulldogs, and Lockie O'Brien from the Bendigo Pioneers is now a Blue. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the names of tomorrow's heroes. Once again, put your hands together for the 2017 NAB AFL Top 10 Draft Picks.
Oh, very exciting times for those young men, but exciting also for the clubs. In particular, we've got Freo, we've got Carlton, St Kilda, all had 2 selections inside the top 10.
Yeah, and interesting too, Jace. We've already got a couple gone from the Dandenong Stingrays, a couple gone from the Bendigo Pioneers. So Hunter Clark, a local product from down the Mornington Peninsula. I'm sure the tears from Mum were tears of joy because she might keep him home for just a little bit longer.
And we see, Jason, as well, the fact that these young men come in, and if they get that early game, they're holding their spot more regularly too these days. We've seen over the last couple of years, high draft picks get that senior game early and away they go. So they really do have an opportunity to hit the ground running and have an impact with their first experience at AFL level.
All right, as round one of the 2017 NAB AFL Draft continues, picking up the selections now will be the AFL's General Counsel and General Manager of Game Development, Andrew Dillon.
With pick 11, the GWS Giants have selected Aidan Bonner from the Dandenong Stingrays.
Aidan Bonner, what are the Giants getting?
Now on the clock.
Well, it's amazing, Jace. He's actually had 2 knee reconstructions in the last couple of years, so very limited in terms of the footy he's actually played. But his game on grand final day in the All-Stars game was absolutely incredible. He had 20 disposals, 5 clearances and a goal playing in the midfield. So when you look at this fella, you think of those real bigger body mids, similar to a Charlie Curnow.
And 3 from the Stingrays already in this draft, Mick.
Yeah, it's impressive. They've done a fantastic job. Obviously, the coach, Craig Black, and the talent manager, Mark Wheeler. It's certainly producing talent, that region, there's no doubt about that. So fantastic to see a young man that's gone through a lot of adversity get his opportunity at AFL level.
All right, the Adelaide Crows are ready to go with selection number 12. We go back to Andrew.
With selection 12, the Adelaide Crows have selected Darcy Fogarty from the Lucindale Football Club. West Coast Eagles are on the clock.
Darcy Fogarty. Mick, you're a big fan?
Yeah, that's remarkable. That's a steal for mine. He's just an absolute beast, Jace. This kid plays the game on the edge. He's played forward. He's more of a natural forward.
Oh, I like
fantastically
that. Yeah, it's about time.
And a bit of a throwback. I know a lot of them might know, but think Tony Lockett. When players drop back in front of this young fella, good luck to you, because he comes with a full head of steam, and I actually think he'll push into the midfield at some stage too.
He just had the meniscus issue with the knee during the year, so it wasn't at his absolute best. That's why he slipped back, but he could be an absolute bonus for Adelaide to go at 12.
All right, after a little bit of thought, West Coast have made their selection at pick number 13, Andrew.
With pick 13, the West Coast Eagles have selected Jared Brander from the Bendigo Pioneers. Sydney Swans are on the clock.
A key forward for the Eagles.
Can play both ends, really, can't he? He played key forward in that national championship game shifter that you loved, where they beat Vic Metro, which was outstanding. But he can also play as a key defender, and he loves that intercept marking as well, with, as you can see, the ability in the air here.
Yeah, I love that statement he made in that game against the unbeaten Vic Metro, that he put the stamp on it in that first half, taking those marks. He set the game up when given that chance up forward. And he's a boy from New South Wales, from Wentworth, just over the border, and wonderful to see boys from now right round Australia getting their opportunity. And at 195 centimetres, this boy has got all the attributes to be a star of the game.
The Sydney Swans entering the draft at pick number 14, and they have made their selection.
With pick 14, the Sydney Swans have selected Matthew Ling from the Geelong Falcons. Brisbane Lions are on the clock.
Tell us a little about Matthew Ling, Mick.
Outside class and athleticism is what comes to mind when you think of Matthew Ling. He's a very, very smart user of the ball. So when you look at the Sydney Swans, you think Josh Kennedy, Dan Hanbury, Luke Parker. Geez, if they can feed it out to Matthew Ling and he can actually get the ball and deliver it forward to centre, the forwards certainly won't have a shortage of opportunities to kick goals.
You can see there a line breaker, great endurance ball use, uncontested solo. That'll come when he competes more against the bigger bodies. His confidence will grow in that area, no doubt. Very impressive during grand final week, Mick, when we had Matthew as part of the Enright team, and he really did show his class during that week.
I don't know why, Jono, but so many of the left footers are beautiful kicks, aren't they?
Oh, yeah, look, they step and they just go, and it's just it really is beautiful to watch. They've got class when they go long, and they've got beautiful touch as well when they just want to chip the ball short.
All right, so an outstanding pickup for the Sydney Swans. The Brisbane Lions had pick 1. They also have selection 15.
With pick 15, the Brisbane Lions have selected Zach Bailey from Norwood. Western Bulldogs are on the clock.
What do you like about Zach Bailey, Kevin?
Well, he's probably the biggest mover of the year amongst the under-18 boys. So he dominated for the NT in our Academy Series early in the year, then played for the Allies and really made a statement with his burst work out of the centre. So he's a bit of a travelling man. He's from the NT down into Adelaide playing for Norwood and then played for the Allies at a very high level. Made all Australian on the back of those performances. Just love just that slickness he's got out of the centre from stoppage, and really plays a lot of grunt as well.
2.98 for a 20-metre as well. So he's already under 3 seconds, and that's only going to get better, Mick.
Just accumulates the footy, so you certainly can't look past Zach Bailey, and a fantastic job by Wally Gallio in the NT program.
We're up to selection number 16, the second pick for the Western Bulldogs.
With pick 16, the Western Bulldogs have selected Edward Richards from the Oakley Chargers. Richmond are on the clock.
Well, here we go.
You better tell us, Kevin.
This is Collingwood blood, this one. Hey, Ron Richards' grandson, so the grandnephew of Lou Richards, Eddie. And Nathan Buckley, oh, he's the one that's got away from them. We don't have a grandfather-grandson rule, unfortunately. He's a boy that plays across half-back, Oakley Chargers. You can see the red hair. He's like a Heath Shaw. He just reads it so well. He's a playmaker from back there, and he's slick, quick.
Another left footer as well.
Yeah. Sets the play up and was brilliant carry in private school footy before really starring late in the year for the Oakley Chargers.
Size isn't a problem anymore either. As long as you get in there and compete and want to get that ball or put pressure on the opposition when it's coming out, size doesn't matter.
All right, well, it is the reigning Premier Richmond that has the final selection in round one at pick number 17.
With pick 17, Richmond has selected Jack Higgins from the Oakley Chargers. Brisbane are on the clock.
Been plenty of talk about Jack Higgins. He's an exciting type.
He's an enigma, Jace. He's going to bring some absolute unique traits to the Richmond Footy Club, but he couldn't have done any more this year. He cleaned up just about every award possible. He won the Morris Medal for the best and fairest in the TAC Cup. He averaged 27 disposals, 6 tackles and kicked 6 goals at the Champs. So the question mark over him earlier in the year was, can he go into the midfield? I watched him play a game in WA in the under-18 Champs where he went in there and looked very, very much at home. So smart goal kicker, can push into the midfield.
And he's super professional as well, Jason. He does everything right. He's worked that hard on his game to get this opportunity now.
We do need to make mention that there were only 17 picks in the first round because of sanctions imposed to GWS over the Lockie Whitfield drug saga, although they did trade back into the first round by sending Devon Smith to Essendon, and they did get pick number 11. But there are 2 end of first round compensation picks at 18 and 19 going to Brisbane and the Gold Coast. They're compensation picks for free agency. Of course, Tom Rockcliffe going to Port Adelaide resulted in Brisbane getting pick 18, and it was Gary Ablett going to Geelong, who then was on-traded the free agency pick of Stephen Motlop, who went to Port Adelaide, which gets them pick number 19. So I think we've got that right. So let's have a look at picks 11 to 17 thus far as we wait for those 2 end of first round compensation picks. And it rounds out a very, very exciting first round.
It certainly does, and there's still some absolute quality on the board. You think of the likes of Oscar Allen, I think Nathan Murphy, the young man that switched from cricket to football. So there's a little bit more height there, and I think now we'll start to see a few more of the tools and potentially even a forward, Joe.
That would be nice. So a quick break here of the 2017 NAB AFL Draft. On the other side, the 2 end of first round compensation picks, and then we're into round 2. Welcome back to the 2017 NAB AFL Draft, coming to you live from the Sydney Showgrounds. Round 1 has been completed, 17 players selected. There are now a couple of end of first round compensation picks, and we're about to get into round 2. We head to our commentary team, which is Kevin Sheehan, Mick Ablett, and the reins being held by Sarah Jones.
Thank you very much, Jace. What a first round we've had. So much talent still yet to be named and to be their futures decided. Mick, what names are we expected to see in the next couple of picks?
The Brisbane Lions have selected Brandon Starcevich from East Perth. Gold Coast Suns are on the clock.
Well, there you go. He had an outstanding NAB AFL combine, Sarah. He's just got better and better, this young man. Really, really raw, but incredibly powerful. 2.87 seconds for a 20-metre sprint and 91-centimetre running vertical jump. So Peter Sumich can take a lot of credit for that one because he's had a huge influence on this young fella over the last 12 months.
Given where the Brisbane Lions are development-wise, how crucial is it for them to nail these picks.
With pick 19, the Gold Coast Suns have selected Will Powell from Claremont. Richmond are on the clock.
Well, this is the bolter from the blue. We're talking about a boy that wasn't rated by many to be this high, but gee, there's no doubt the Gold Coast have seen something special, as the people at Claremont have. They can see a little bit of Jack Martin in this boy, who's a star now for the Gold Coast. He's a boy that is a late developer, physically grown. It's 5 or 6 centimetres in the last half a year, and is just blossoming at the under 18 level at the Colts there at Claremont. So a surprise choice there.
With pick 20, Richmond have selected Callum Coleman-Jones from Sturt. West Coast Eagles are on the clock.
Great to see a pick out of the SANFL.
Yeah, and Callum Coleman-Jones has just gone from strength to strength, Sarah. I rate this kid as the best contested mark in this year's draft. He's got an exceptional set of hands. We go back to the NAB AFL Under-18 Championships, where he had 28 disposals against the Allies. Now, for a kid that's 201 centimetres, and to rack up those sort of numbers is really impressive. So they've got a genuine competitor, someone that can play ruck forward, even push back if need be.
All right, we're waiting on the West Coast Eagles with pick number 21.
I wouldn't be surprised to see Oscar Allen here. I think he's a local product and a kid with a huge amount of upside.
With pick 21, the West Coast Eagles have selected Oscar Allen from West Perth. Geelong are on the clock.
Ah, there you go. Well done, Mick.
And why not? Why not? The Lark medalist, the best and fairest player in under-18s this year at national level. And a boy that he's only 191 centimetres, but he's got a great leap, and he sees the ball early and stretches to the highest point to grab it. So I think he can play taller. That's what that means than the 191. He'd be the third marking forward. He'd have a chance to even play as a tall midfielder. Super impressive in those national championship. Averaged about 3 goals a game, so he's got some real special ability up forward, but I think versatility can come into his game as well.
Our Fox rankings had him at pick number 8, so a bit of a steal there, Mick.
Yeah, I think he's got a massive ceiling too. He's super athletic. He's a fantastic kid, and all the feedback out of West Perth Footy Club was that he's got leadership written all over him in terms of his humility. And just to go back a couple, Sarah, to pick 18, Brandon Starcevich, interesting, goes to Brisbane, where his uncle Craig Starcevich works for AFL Queensland. So still got a family link there.
A little bit of a connection. We can see the Cats here having a bit of a discussion. What would they be talking about? Obviously, they come in tonight with their own rankings.
Yeah, I think maybe it's the next best player at this stage rather than their particular needs. They'll have both of those things in their mind. So there'll be a point in the draft where I think it'll be into their second or third or fourth selection where they'll go for needs. I reckon it's next best ranked player at this particular point for the Cats.
Well, the interesting part too is when the bid's going to come for Patrick Nash. I'm really surprised it hasn't come as yet.
With pick 22, Geelong have selected Lachlan Fogarty from the Western Jets. North Melbourne are on the clock.
Skillful, tough, small forward. He's not tiny. He's 179 near 180, but he's a tackling machine and a ball-winning player. Was a star when the AFL Under-18s played the VFL players from the Northern Blues this year. He, along with Davies Uniacke, were the 2 stars that handled that step up to play against the bigger, stronger bodies. A very, very good player for the Western Jets. Only played the 7 games, runner-up in their best and fairest. So he's a boy capable of playing straight away.
All right, let's head to Anthony Hudson now for the next pick.
Interesting too, Sarah, as we see Lachlan Fogarty there, just those defensive medium forwards like a Jack Graham. Very, very important these days.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, tonight we're going to have some famous faces, both past and present, and club representatives to help us announce some of the draft selections. And to announce selection number 23, would you welcome back to the stage the coach of the North Melbourne Football Club, Brad Scott.
With pick 23, North Melbourne have selected Will Walker from the Sandringham Dragons.
What's his story?
And Geelong on the clock.
You don't have to have played AFL all of your life to do it. It was soccer just a few years ago, so he's quite an elite athlete. Love the way he moves. He's got beautiful poise about him. Love his goals off one step. Played for the Sandringham Dragons, impressed in the finals. Didn't play nationals again, but a very high possession winner for Sandringham right throughout the year. And he's got all of the traits, I think, of an AFL player in the way he moves.
Yeah, I look at him and I think Blake Acres, the young man that's playing out at St Kilda, he's that really big, tall, strong-bodied midfielder. So he's a fantastic selection, Will Walker, and a kid that just really has a sensational work ethic. He'll get in, he'll compete, but and he'll win his fair share of clearances. There's no doubt about that.
The Geelong Brains Trust are weighing up what to do next. Stephen Wells, one of the more experienced and credentialed recruiters in the game.
What I love about Stephen Wells, Sarah, is he just keeps it simple. That's an absolute credit to him. He's one of the most humble people I've met in football. He's brought a lot of people on. I know Troy Selwood and the likes of even Liam Woodland that are working in their recruiting department. He's got a fantastic knack of developing people underneath him, and we see this week Andrew Mackie moving in there as well. So I look forward to seeing how Andrew goes in the talent space.
It's interesting to see how long the consultation can take at times as they analyse the options they have available to them. So they're taking their time, being thorough. And this would have been after hours upon hours of debate anyway, looking at tape, looking at games live as well.
With pick 24, Geelong have selected Tim Kelly from South Fremantle. Richmond are on the clock.
The first of the mature age players, put it that way, just 23 years of age, an Indigenous boy that had such a wonderful year. Runner-up in the Sandover medal at senior level, averaging in the high 20s in terms of possessions, and can push forward and kick goals. Played very well in the state game for WA against the VFL this year as part of what was a super breakout year for this young fellow. Had injuries back in his 18th year, but he's really peaked and he's ready to run.
And what a thrill for anyone drafted to the Cats, knowing that there's a midfield with Selwood, Ablett and Dangerfield.
With pick 25, Richmond has selected Noah Bolter from the Calder Cannons. West Coast are on the clock.
Well, he's very much the unknown, Noah Bolter. He's an athletic talent. He's exceptional in terms of his ability to play multiple roles. And for a young man that doesn't watch AFL, which is remarkable, he's very open about that. He's certainly got the ability to play forward. He's got the ability to play back. He's played even in the ruck at times for the Calder Cannons. So it's going to be interesting to see where Noah goes in his career. He's a huge amount of ceiling, but obviously still a lot to learn also.
Yeah, raw, exciting ability, and that's what the Tigers can obviously see in him. And they'll have to coach him to play the disciplined way they'd like him to play. But he's got some freakish ability athletically, and we've seen that when he pushes forward and occasionally helps out in the ruck.
This is going to be an interesting one for the Eagles, maybe a tall defender.
With pick 26, West Coast has selected Liam Ryan from Subiaco. GWS are on the clock.
Well, I had in mind they may there have gone for Sam Taylor, but Liam Ryan obviously allows him to stay at home, and there he is, the absolute human highlight reel. So you look at his numbers in terms of his game, he's averaging 14 disposals and 3 goals a game. Like, to kick 73 goals in any level of football is a remarkable effort, let alone in a state league. So good selection there by the Eagles.
The human highlight reel. I'm rapt that he's got the opportunity. He was close last year, kicked 40-odd goals last year, was talked about. They felt he wasn't quite ready, but gee, he's backed it up with those 73. He couldn't be overlooked, and he adds a lot to our spectacular AFL game, no doubt at all.
Just turned 21 as well, so we talk mature age. He's actually still almost a kid in all due respect, but obviously just adds a little bit of speed to the West Coast Eagles team.
With pick 27, GWS has selected Brent Daniels from the Bendigo Pioneers. GWS are on the clock.
This is proving quite a fruitful draft for the Bendigo Pioneers.
And for, I think, Geelong Grammar as well. Most of these boys play for the Bendigo Pioneers, come from, well, northeast country Victoria, and go to Geelong Grammar School. And Brent Daniels is one of those, a boy from up in the Swan Hill area, up in that area. But a small player, but what a smart player. Full of the ball, reads it brilliantly, tough, courageous, skillful, and very team-oriented player. Sets the play up.
With pick 28, GWS have selected Sam Taylor from Swan Districts. Melbourne are on the clock.
I'm a big rap for this kid. He's just gone from strength to strength and got to the point where he ended up playing 8 league games for the Swan Districts and taking a really good liking to toweling up some of the key forwards over there in the waffle. So he was an All-Australian, and what he does allow you to do, Sarah, he's going to play on the beasts. Like he's a really big unit, Sam Taylor. He can win the football back for you, defensive-minded, and a great pickup.
And now to announce pick 29, we're going to call on a Melbourne Football Club legend, what a star forward he was, their former skipper, David Neitz.
With pick 29, Melbourne Football Club have selected Charlie Spargo from the Murray Bushrangers.
Oh, we've referred to him a lot as Mighty Mouse over the last couple of years.
And Carlton are on the clock.
He is legitimately the most competitive person in this year's draft. It doesn't matter whether they're 178 centimetres or 208 centimetres, he'll take them on. So outstanding in that sense. He's strong overhead for his size, so he can push forward and kick goals. And I think we maybe forgot about him a little bit late in the year, Shifter, after he had shoulder surgery.
Yeah, he's going to be a great player, this young fella. I think Boomer Harvey with this guy, gee, does he compete. 4th generation Spargo to get into the AFL. So I remember, of course, Paulie's father played 80 games, North Melbourne up at Brisbane, but Bob Spargo played when, well, I think I was a kid, so it would have been the 60s, and he was a terrific player at the Western Bulldogs. So we've now got Charlie keeping that Spargo name going in AFL footy. Fantastic.
And I know I just mentioned it before, but I think the Tigers are absolutely getting away with blue murder here. Nobody calling Pat Naish at this stage. I just think Kevy's at the real top end of what this draft can offer in terms of class.
He's got that and plays with great confidence and a great user of the footy. Had a brilliant national championship. All-Australian, easily picked, one of the first picked. Got to come shortly.
With pick 30, Carlton have selected Tom De Koning from the Dandenong Stingrays. Melbourne are on the clock.
Carlton have had a strong early hand in this draft, and with Tom now at pick 30, what kind of player are they getting, Shifter?
Well, they're getting a very tall forward, around the 200-centimetre mark, that developed terrifically well this year. Before a lacerated kidney, put him out in the back half of the year. Also developing as a ruckman, so I think you'd see him as a long-term player that can play both those roles.
Yeah, I really like him in the rucks area. His repeat efforts are outstanding, so I see him as a ruck forward and super athletic, but he's going to take a little bit of time to develop. One of 10 children as well, so look for a few more De Konings to come through over the next few years.
With pick 31, Melbourne have selected Bailey Fritsch from the Casey Demons. West Coast are on the clock.
Yeah, and now they're picking a player from their aligned side, Casey, in the VFL, that won the round Fothergill medal for the best young player in the VFL. Again, he played in the state games I watched against WA. Tim Kelly played in that game. This is a lightly built boy. He's a jack in the box. He kicked 40-odd goals for this year in the VFL as that medium forward, and they would have had their watchful eyes all over him, given that he played with their aligned side.
Yeah, and plays taller than what his height suggests as well. At 187 centimetres, he's actually really, really strong in the air. So, fantastic result for the VFL. And I think for kids that get overlooked tonight, Sarah, there's a great example of a young man that's hung in there for an extra couple of years and got his opportunity. So, the beauty of our game at the moment is these guys are still getting opportunities at 22, 23 years of age. Has that improved a lot in your time, Shifter? Obviously 25 drafts. It seems now that there are more pathways if you miss out first go. Yeah, I think the business is that big now that that people know that individuals develop physically at different rates, and I can imagine Bailey being very lightly built at 18. Didn't make the Eastern Rangers squad. They have a squad of 80 back at the start of the year, and up at Coldstream he developed to their
then was felt to be good enough to go down to VFL level, the way he developed in community footy virtually, and has had 2 terrific years at VFL level.
Let's check in now with David King and Glenn Luff. Kingy, there's been a few steals already tonight.
There certainly has, and I think, Lovey, when you look at what Richmond have been able to get away with, it's been unbelievable. But Jack Higgins is one that springs to mind. You had him ranked 5th with the Fox Lab rankings. He's an elite talent. Toby Green-like.
Yeah, the best numbers we've ever recorded for a junior player. We talk about the champion data ranking points, 32 games. He topped 129 times. So absolute steal for the Tigers and just adds to their great season.
He went pick 17, which is a long way from 5 where we had him, Sarah. And I think when you look at a contested possession winner who kicks the ball at greater than 70% effectiveness, he'll be an absolute genius for the Richmond Football Club. On the back of what once some sort of season it was this year, Sarah, it just gets better for the Tigers.
The dream continues all the way to November for the Tigers. We'll wait and see how the rest of the night pans out. We're just having a look here at the West Coast Eagles, who've been granted extra time. Why do they need these extra couple of minutes? Has something happened that's throwing things out for them?
Yeah, well, there's still a couple of players on the board. I mean, Charlie Constable's one. Are they looking for a tall defender to replace Eric McKenzie, obviously getting on in age? Shannon Hearn in the twilight of his career as well. So whether it's that or whether they go for a mid.
With pick 32, West Coast have selected Braden Ainsworth from Subiaco. Sydney are on the clock.
And a local boy.
Yeah, sensational story. Again, 19-year-old. He's come up from Esperance, made the move to Perth, and he's got character in absolute spades, Braden Ainsworth. So tough. Again, Peter Sumich and the work that he did with this West Australian team in the championships, it came in quite underrated. Braden Ainsworth was a product of that and an All-Australian player to boot.
Well, let's welcome back to the stage young Sydney star Callum Mills to announce selection 33 for the Sydney Swans.
With pick 33, the Sydney Swans have selected Tom McCartan.
Well done, Callum, and St Kilda are now on the clock.
Tommy McCartan, fantastic for the McCartan family. This is a boy that had injuries leading up to this year, but with Tom we've seen some brilliant ability at the Geelong Falcons. A repeat leading centre half forward. He gets on his bike, is able to get up and take marks across half forward. Our goal kicker as well. I think that that's a great selection. Of course, brother went #1, so there's a couple of McCartans now in the AFL. Fantastic to see.
He's got a really good tank too, Tom McCartan. He's quite different to his brother. Like Kev mentioned, he gets up the ground, fantastic work ethic, good lateral movement.
With pick 34, St Kilda have selected Richmond father-son nominee Patrick Naish from the Northern Knights. The selection is now with Richmond to match St Kilda's bid.
There we go. You mentioned this before. You've been waiting for it. What do you expect to happen here?
No doubt they'll match this. If you can get Patrick Naish at pick 34, I think you've had a very good... That's why they're all smiling. Dimmer looks very relaxed, doesn't he? He's just class, Sarah. He's a player that naturally cuts back through the middle of the ground. He is very outside, but he's one of the best on the outside.
I reckon he's the boy with the dancing feet. He just, that sidestep and cuts back onto the inside. He's got great vision and then skill execution by foot.
Richmond have matched St Kilda's bid for Patrick Naish from the Northern Knights. St Kilda are back on the clock.
So the Tigers taking fanatical Richmond supporter as well. He is lucky enough under the father-son rule to train there over the summer, so had a wonderful insight into Punt Road, the culture of that club, and then he's followed their dreams throughout the whole year, right through to grand final day.
It is one of the truly great things of our game, isn't it, the father-son rule, and it is the first father-son pick at Richmond since Tom Roach back in 2003, so a little while there.
Yeah, and trust me, he's one of the absolute characters. Once he makes his way onto the AFL stage and gets a little bit of confidence, don't be surprised if you see him bobbing up and providing some highlights on the footy show or something very, very similar to that, because he's got a great sense of humour, he's got a good head on his shoulders, and he's come a really, really long way over the last couple of years in terms of his maturity.
So St Kilda with the next pick, number 35. Shifter, they've had a strong early hand with picks 7 and 8 and can really set things up for next year. We know that they didn't make the finals, but this group is still very much developing.
And I think at this point they'll be really looking for the needs. They've had those early selections, so what's the balance now? What have we got? What do we need? It may take them a while to sift through that as they consider the ultimate list, which is the best players in order. Then separately they'll have the midfielders, the tall backs, the tall forwards. So they'll be trying to get that balance of selections right, and that can take a couple of minutes. It's great to see the senior coach involved as well, Alan Richardson, getting with Tony Elshaw. They're all in the discussion, and then ultimately you've got to make your final decisions to which way you go. It takes some managing when you've only got a couple of minutes to do it, so there needs to be enormous trust in the groups.
And the pick is in.
A couple of local products still on the board. Charlie Constable there, Oscar Clavarino, a Sandringham Dragon. Nathan Murphy, another Sandringham Dragon.
With pick 35, St Kilda have selected Oscar Clavarino from the Dandenong Stingrays. Geelong are on the clock.
Yeah, gone for the tall defender there, and Mick could pick that, and he's had a wonderful year too. Another All-Australian, a boy that at 195 centimetres, and again knows when to drop off and take the intercept mark, knows when to spoil. Love the way he come across the front of the pack to take some contested marks in the national championship, and he's a leader of young men. He's shown that both at Hailbury College and down with the Dandenong Stingrays. And he'd be, how many from down at Hailbury under Lloydie's tutelage? Probably 5 or 6 players already.
Obviously, with Revolt and Montagna retiring, leadership would have been something that the Saints were looking for in this draft.
No doubt, and that's what Oscar gives you. He didn't have a fantastic 18th year, but geez, when you look back to his 17th year and he was touted as a top 10 draft pick, he's a steal at 35. The thing I like about him and who I'd liken him to would be similar to a Jake Lever. His ability to come off and take intercept marks has been outstanding. Occasionally gets it wrong, but I'd much rather have one of those players, Sarah, that you can then teach to be a little bit more defensive rather than having a real lockdown defender that you've got to try and get to come out of their shell and win the ball back for you.
So it's with the Geelong Football Club now at pick number 36. We saw Chris Scott. How much involvement do the senior coaches have in recruiting? Does it differ from club to club?
It certainly does, and I've had that conversation with a few clubs where the level of input differs quite a bit. I think it's important, and even you look at the NFL teams, it's important for the coach to have their say. It's important for the recruiters to align with the coach. But at the end of the day, list managers call.
With pick 36, Geelong have selected Charlie Constable from the Sandringham Dragons. Melbourne are on the clock.
Well, I think Paddy Cripps, when I look at Constable, so he's a tall inside midfielder, racks them up. Sometimes you don't notice that he's had the 28 or 30 possessions, so wins that contested ball and can free the arms, get the arms up high and dish it off very well by hand to his teammates. Had a wonderful national championship. Really set up Vic Metro's overall victory in that championship with his inside play, and he can push forward as well at 191 centimetres and be dangerous up there. So a ball winner on the inside.
Interesting too, there's still a few guys on the board. I mentioned Nathan Murphy. Connor Ballandon's another one, 200 centimetres.
With pick 37, Melbourne have selected Harrison Petty from Wadena United Football Club. West Coast are on the clock.
Key defender again, so that with Clavarino and then Petty, you're picking with Petty the MVP for SA this year at under 18 level. Bretton Phillips loved his one-on-one work, his competitiveness and his ability to play to the coach's instructions. Fantastic player for them. Massive upside, I think, with this fellow. To play at 195 centimetres on some of the big players in the AFL in the future. He has got the light body, so just be patient with him. But all of what we've seen at national level was super impressive this year.
And fractured his elbow the other night at training too, Sarah. He went to jump over a bit of barbed wire, got the foot caught and landed on the elbow. So it'll set him back around about 6 weeks, but he'll certainly be up and about after Christmas.
All right, the Eagles are up next.
Sam Hayes still on the board as well. The tall forward, big question mark over his tank, but back-to-back All-Australian as a 17, 18-year-old. So interesting to see he can't be too far away, I wouldn't have thought. again, Connor Ballin. Joel Garner's another one that certainly has raised some eyebrows during the year and will be in the mix.
With pick 38, West Coast has selected Jack Petruccelli from the Northern Knights.
Well, they've gone for the flying machine there. Pace early in the year, 2.82 for 20 metres. Couldn't quite match that at the National Combine with a 2.87.
Well, David King, what's caught your eye so far?
Well, we're just having a look here at what Geelong have done, and lovely, some interesting assets, if you like, some guys that are ready to go almost at round one next year.
So yeah, the first one was Lockie Fogarty, so he's that small pressuring forward, but he does get a lot of the footy as well. He's not only pressure, he can have an instant impact, and they've got the mature age waffle player who was second in the Sandover, Tim Kelly. He can go straight into the midfield.
And Constable slipped all the way down to mid-30s. An unbelievable selection. Some clubs are really cashing in. 36 he was. We had him ranked at 14. So Geelong have done really well, Sarah, with their 3 picks so far.
Let's throw things back to Jason Dunstall.
All right, well, that is the end of rounds 1 and rounds 2. Congratulations to those young men that have been selected. A nervous wait still for a lot of young men and their families watching anxiously around the country. We'll take a quick break here from the Sydney Showgrounds. Back with round 3 on the other side. Welcome back to the Sydney Showgrounds for the 2017 NAB AFL Draft. It's been exciting times thus far as rounds 1 and 2 have unfolded. Let's just recap what has happened since round 1. Of course, there were a couple of compensation picks in terms of free agency compensation at the end of first round for Brisbane and the Gold Coast. And then round 2 unfolded. Really interesting with the Tigers at picks 20 and 25 taking key forwards, Jono.
It is very interesting because we know what they did this year with Jack Bremont in the square and all the smalls around him. So maybe they're looking for these players in 2 to 3 years' time to change the way that the game is played by going taller. So interesting there from the Tigers.
Let's head back to the commentary team headed by Sarah Jones.
Thank you very much, Jace. The boys mentioned clubs working out where the game is headed. So important, I suppose, for everyone, as you said, Mick, to be aligned and know how you want to play, not just now, but in 1 or 2 years' time.
Absolutely. You have to be on the same page, and that's key to any football department at any level of football. And we just saw then, as the boys were chatting and recapping, Nathan Murphy taken a pick 39 by Collingwood. He's the cricketer. He's the player that's really raw, quite new to the game. His father, Sean, actually played under 19s at St Kilda, so interesting he stayed on the board for that long, but he'll be a good get for the Pies.
He'd been a prolific goal kicker at Brighton Grammar School and then produced some great form at Sandringham late in the year. About 188 centimetre boy, lovely soft hands in the air, moves beautifully, capable of playing in a range of other
to announce selection 40 for the Adelaide Crows, we're going to be joined by one of the stars of their inaugural AFLW premiers, Abby Holmes. Welcome, Abby. Well, before you make the announcement, just a couple of quick questions. What an incredible first season it was for the AFLW, but particularly for the Adelaide Crows.
Yeah, Hutto, it was phenomenal. I guess to have the opportunity to pull on the Guernsey of the club that you've loved and supported your entire life was a real dream come true, and I guess to achieve that ultimate success alongside legitimately some of my best mates now, it was, yeah, sensational.
As it was a bit of a dream for everyone, and obviously particularly for the Crows. Now you've got to back up and do it again.
Yeah, exactly right. And, you know, we were in a pretty unique position that the Adelaide licence bid to the AFL was a joint collaboration with the NT. So we had 9 girls based up there year 1, the rest of the squad down in South Australia. So pre-season started this week, so bigger, better, faster, stronger for 2018.
And draft day for you, what's your memories of that? It's a similar experience some of these young men are going through.
Lots of emotion, and I'm sitting down there watching this, getting all emotional with the families and, you know, mums and dads and girlfriends, and it was, yeah, a great day and something that I'll hold very fond for the rest of my life.
Well, congratulations on what you've achieved so far. Good luck again for the new season, which isn't too far away, of course. Good luck with reading out selection 40.
Thanks, with pick number 40, the Adelaide Crows have selected Andrew McPherson from the Eagles.
Wow, that absolutely is fantastic. I'm stoked for this young fella. He's one of the best young men I've come across in the 6 years I've been in the role, Sarah. No one had a tougher year than him. He had a quad injury. He came back from that. He had a hammy injury. He re-injured the quad. We had genuine concern, and your heart went out to him because he just couldn't quite get himself back. But it speaks volumes about him as a person to be taken at pick 40 after not really playing a lot of footy throughout the year, Kev. But what he gives you leadership, he gives you composure. And when you go back to 2016, he averaged 21 disposals in 6 reserves games in the SANFL. So he can certainly play. So Crows fans, you've got a really good homegrown talent.
So he's a boy of about the 187, 188, 6'2" in the old, and a defender, and a boy that sets the play up from back there. And that's where you want composure too. He's got all of that. He gives direction. He uses the ball well on the way out. And after that frustrating year, he's finally rewarded and gets to stay home.
Homegrown talent. You spoke earlier in the night, Mick, about the importance really of drafting locally if you can. There was a bit of a difference of opinion on the panel. Another thing I've heard spoken about this week is the friendship factor. So getting guys, if you can, drafting alongside mates who potentially can build a friendship base and build a family environment at the club.
Exactly, and you got Brisbane, who's on screen at the moment. They've certainly done it. You look at like Reece Matheson and Nick Robertson and these sorts of guys that are fantastic friends. We saw both of those boys in Perth over the break, and then you think of Hugh McCluggage, Jared Berry. The Suns went down that path last year with Ainsworth, Brodie, Jack Scrimshaw, who are all very good friends. So it is really important, Sarah. I understand teams wanting to get the best talent and supporters wanting the best talent and to back your club in, but certainly got to keep that in mind.
All right, the Brisbane Lions have had some extra time granted, so we're going to check in with Ben Dixon and Cam Rayner.
Cam Rayner, #1 pick. You must be absolutely ecstatic with the way Brisbane have handled this, because you had no idea that you're going to be selected #1.
Yeah, I know. It's been a little bit of a tough last couple of weeks, but I think that's all part of the experience. That nervous weight keeps you a little bit more excited, and yeah, I'm really, really happy.
Tell us what it's like, because you had an outstanding championships. Jono highlighted that once you were selected, but it's a long year, isn't it, and a big build-up to the day.
Yeah, definitely. I've been waiting for this day for, pretty much my whole life, so not just this year, but yeah, like the things keep clicking on throughout the year, but you're just waiting for this one day, and now that it's come, I'm just, so excited and happy to be a part of Brisbane.
What about Chris Fagan? This year had so many young players come through. Has he spoken to you? Obviously, you've had a number of interviews. Tell us exactly what he said to you.
Yeah, I had a chat to him at the Combine, and I think he's just excited with the talent that there's at Brisbane. There's so many young talent now. We're bringing in Hodges, an older player. I think he'll help out the younger kids. So, yeah, I'm just excited to meet everyone and be a part of the group.
Well, sensational. #1 pick, Cam Rayner. Well done. Congratulations. You've got a big year ahead.
Cheers. Thanks, mate.
Well done, mate.
What a gorgeous smile and such enthusiasm. It just must be so great for the Brisbane Lions to know they've got a character like this and someone that seems so happy to be drafted there.
Yeah, that's what he brings to a footy club, is character and a bit of spunk. And as the Brisbane Lions pick 41's in.
With pick 41, the Brisbane Lions have selected Toby Wooler from the Oakley Chargers. Gold Coast are on the clock.
Well, it's a famous name for the Geelong supporters about my age. Fred Wooler captained their premiership side in '63 in the era that Bob Davis coached them. And Fred still watches young Toby plays at most of his games. This boy's had a great year, won the best and fairest at the Oakley Chargers, kicked over 40 goals as a lead-up forward, and he can play tall midfield as well. So he's had a breakout year. He looked promising last year, looked an AFL player the way he played right throughout this year. Well done to Toby Wooler.
He had a little footy shoe in the back end of the year because he was on the brink of playing in the All-Stars game on Grand Final day, but just couldn't quite get up for that. Played the 2 games for Vic Metro in the championships.
With pick 42, the Gold Coast have selected Charlie Ballard from Sturt. Fremantle are on the clock.
We talk about growth spurts with boys. Well, this boy's grown around 15 centimetres in the last year and a bit. So all of a sudden he still maintains that ability at ground level, but he's added that marking to his game, and that's a great advantage to have. Tom Lynch, the Gold Coast Tom Lynch did that, had this massive growth spurt around the 17, 18 years of age mark, and has carried that winger skills into the way he plays centre half forward. So Ballard's one of those, a late physical developer.
Let's check in with David King, who's identified a player you think Kingy needs to be picked up soon.
Well, we had it number 12 on the Fox Lab, Glenn, and he's still there, Dylan Moore. I can't believe he's still there, pressure forward. Hopefully this is his name now.
With pick 43, Fremantle has selected Brisbane Lions Academy nominee Connor Ballenden from Brisbane. The selection is now with Brisbane to match Fremantle's bid.
Well, I just think that when you look at the draft at the moment, Glenn, and where the game's going, pressure forwards are the new black, and I'm surprised that Dylan's still there.
He couldn't have done any more in his under-18 year. His TAC Cup stuff was sensational. At the under-18 chance, he had 44 score involvements. That was 10 more than any other player in the competition. And then the combine, he did everything right there. So, look, it's probably size that's putting teams off.
Would you match this pick? Would you invest these picks here? Would the Brisbane Lions do that?
I think they've had a great night. They've loaded up their forward line. This kid's a local kid, can play back and forward.
Wonder what the boys next door would do, Jonesy. They're looking rather worried. Are you concerned about the Brisbane Lions, I think, Mick?
No, I was actually quite surprised that it lasted this long, Kingy. I'd match.
With pick 43, Brisbane have matched Fremantle's bid for Connor Ballenden from Brisbane. Fremantle are now on the clock.
And end of the year as a premiership player in their North East AFL side too, where Brisbane won that, and it gives you, well, I think the two options. He might end up a key defender. What he is a brilliant kick. For a boy at 199 centimetres, he uses the ball so well. In fact, aced the kicking test at our draft combine. A perfect score, so right and left good. That's unusual for a taller boy. And as we said, he can be a forward as well. Still learning the game, brought up in that environment, not from really a football background. He's still got a lot to learn. But at that size, with his athletic ability, they've got something to work on there.
I know Luke Powers had a lot of influence on Connor Ballenden and where he plays, and he's convinced he's got to play centre-half back early days. It's got to force him to compete. That's the question mark on him, is his level of competitiveness. Luke did a great job, as did the Brisbane Lions Academy in making ground in that area, but definitely got to start at centre-half back for mine.
The Fremantle Football Club with pick number 44 is next, and the pick is in. What do you think they're going to target here?
I think they've got to look for some kicking, some class.
With pick 44, Fremantle selected Hugh Dixon from Tigers Football Club. Hawthorn are on the clock.
Well, the first Tasmanian selected, a boy that really dominated early in the year in the Academy Series, Mick. MVP for Tassie in that. Big left-footed key forward, 195 centimetre boy, and showed a capability of going back. He did that in the All-Star game, played in defence, so he's got a few strings to his bow. A boy from the Kingborough Tigers down there around the Hobart area, and their first selection tonight.
Yes, Hawthorn, a very late entry into this year's draft. Obviously, they had Jager O'Meara and Jarman Impey coming to the club in recent times, which has cost them some picks. So, number 45, their first entry.
With pick 45, Hawthorn have selected James Warple from the Geelong Falcons. St Kilda are on the clock.
Well, you lose a Jordan Lewis and you bring in a James Warple. I know that's a big rap in terms of what I've said there after what Jordan Lewis has achieved in his football career. But what I mean by that, he's tough. He's ready to go. He's going to play senior footy very, very early, James Warple. He's got some work to do on his kicking, no doubt about that. Captained the Geelong Falcons to a premiership, captain Vic Country, so he's got that genuine leadership, and he's someone that that Hawthorn can start to build their midfield around over the next couple of years.
He's a boy that plays with great passion for the team that he's with. He's loved by his teammates down there at the Geelong Falcons, a leader in every respect, and he draws people to him with that ability, and he's chiselled, he's ready to go. He really is in great physical condition.
How long have the recruiters had their eyes on this group? Has it been years, 2, 3 years, even longer? At what age are they really targeting this next lot?
They're getting a lot better now because of the ability to trade future picks. You have to know what's coming. You have to know how good that talent is in terms of what you're about to give up. So they're scouting generally at the under-15 schoolboys championships is where they start to heavily invest, and then obviously through the under-16 championships and over the course of the next few years. So effectively around about 4 years out from the draft, they'll have a pretty good handle on the player's ability.
With pick 46, St Kilda have selected Ben Payton from the Murray Bushrangers. Port Adelaide are on the clock.
And a boy that was overlooked last year. That's fantastic to see. And did he then front up this year? Had a brilliant year for the Murray Bushrangers and for Vic Country. Rightly selected as an All-Australian for his rebound work in the National Championship. Athletically very, very sound. Can also provide great run from defence and set up the play from deep down the back. Very worthy spot onto a list on the way this boy prepared and then played this year.
Wonderful to hear those stories. Port Adelaide is having their first pick of the night at pick number 47.
And Jeff Parker, of course, the chief recruiter right in the middle of the group there.
With pick 47, Port Adelaide have selected Sam Hayes from the Eastern Rangers. Melbourne are on the clock.
Well, thank goodness for that. It's the second of the ruckman, but Sam Hayes, can't believe he's there really at 47 as a back-to-back All-Australian ruckman at 203 centimetres. The only thing is it'll take time, that's all. You've got to invest time in young ruckman. He had to get listed, but just so surprised that it wasn't, you know, in the 20s or something like that. Can mark the ball as the forward at 203 centimetres, but his craft work in the ruck is also very, very impressive.
Well, I think initially what you're recruiting with Sam Hayes is a forward. I know it says ruck there under the screen, and he might potentially develop into that, but due to his lack of endurance, right at the minute, that's what you're recruiting is a real genuine tall forward.
With pick 48, Melbourne have selected Oscar Baker from Aspley. Essendon are on the clock.
And a boy that was actually left out of the Lions Academy in the finish as a 19-year-old, then had a brilliant year in the NEFL. Dashing redhead, breaks the lines, hits the scoreboard, and really had those spectacular games at times this year that led him to become a draftee. It can turn around very quickly for the young boys. We're starting to see that now, that it's not the only time. Tonight's draft for the 18-year-olds is not the only time they'll be up. If you miss out tonight, you back up and show that you're a resilient type of young man, can improve in the areas where you are deficient and do what Oscar Baker's done. Grab your chance the next year. He's well earned it.
The Essendon Football Club had the limelight last year with the #1 pick. This year, a late entry into the draft. Incredibly busy during the trade period. This is their first pick of the night at number 49. Adrian Dodoro there, an experienced list manager for the Bombers, working through their strategies. And you can see John Worsfold also having his input.
Yeah, did a fantastic job, Adrian, throughout the trade period. Geez, didn't they get some quality through the door, and young quality as well. When you're talking Jake Stringer and Devon Smith and these sorts of players, they're elite talent that have gone very, very early in previous drafts, but got a lot of footy ahead of them too. I'd think the Bombers at some stage may need to look for a tall, someone that's going to allow Joe Danaher to stay forward. You certainly don't want to be throwing your Ferrari in a rally car crash derby. And also, I think at some stage some height for the Bombers.
All right, well, the Bombers have got some extra time, and that allows us the time to check in with Ben Dixon, who has Andrew Brayshaw with him.
Andrew Brayshaw, well, I spoke to Mum and Dad, and they said Dad went pick 6, Gus went pick 3, and you've trumped him with pick 2. How's that feel?
Yeah, it just feels unreal. They've been talking about it all week, and I'm just so happy that I beat them, and just so happy to beat Fremantle, and can't wait to get up there.
You're pretty open through the week. We read an article that you said, happy to go to Perth, no problem. Dad played at Claremont, and you got plenty of family there, so Fremantle pretty set on them having you at pick 2.
Yeah, definitely. Family up there, as you said, family, friends as well, so just looking forward to flying out there and saying g'day to everyone and meeting all the players, and it's just going to be a whirlwind, but I can't wait, yeah.
Can you believe it? Will's left home, he's in the army, Gus is still at home, and you're off to Fremantle. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I know, it's yeah, I can't really describe how it feels, but yeah, Will leaving house at 18 gave me confidence from the start that I can move out of home and just, you know, live by myself, so I can't wait.
Well, there's no doubt you can't get the smile off your face. Mum and Dad the same, so well done.
Thank you very much, cheers.
Well done, mate.
Yes, a beaming smile there, and in the meantime, the Bombers have made their selection, Mick.
Yeah, Jordan Houlihan, a product of the NAB AFL Academy. he had a remarkable championships. Look at his highlights here. He can sit on heads. He can kick miraculous goals. So he's got some genuine tricks, and we've known that. He's not a big possession winner throughout games, but he can also turn a game in a very short period of time. So they've looked to, to add some further class and some real X factor into their forward line.
Kick bags of 5, 4 and 4 at reserves level in the South Australian National Footy League late in the year, so he kept improving. Former state basketballer as well, so still
with
learning
pick 50,
the caper.
Port Adelaide has selected Collingwood father-son nominee Tyler Brown from the Eastern Rangers. The selection is now with Collingwood to match Port Adelaide's bid.
Give him 20 seconds to match it. Gee, he's going to be a steal. I like the way this boy goes about it, Tyler Brown. Brother of Cal, Gavin's boy, of course, a Copeland Trophy winner at Collingwood and a star. This boy actually plays very similar to his dad when his dad was just 18 years of age. Gavin was quite lightly built and then filled out by 19, was a star by 20, an absolute star of the game. So it took 20.
With pick 50, Collingwood have matched Port Adelaide's bid for Tyler Brown from the Eastern Rangers. Port Adelaide are back on the clock.
So Callum, a pick 35 in his draft year, and now Tyler pick 50. And like Kev said, he's still got a lot to learn, Tyler Brown, but he is exciting. He's quite raw. Only averaged the 12 possessions per game for the Eastern Rangers, but he's a very, very different player to Callum as well.
I love some of his work at Marsland College. He just played some school footy as well as the games in the TAC Cup, and at times he really showed elite AFL ability. His ability to swerve through the congested area, the sidestep, acceleration away, make a great decision by hand to foot, and look real AFL-like.
With pick 51, Port Adelaide have selected Kane Farrell from the Bendigo Pioneers. Gold Coast are on the clock.
Yeah, elite left foot kick, this boy, Kane Farrell. Good on him. He's got some real X factor about him with that kicking. Also can take a grab. As a boy that late in the year really started to string his games together. Well, I think there's about the 5th player from Bendigo, it might well have been. So they've had a very good draft tonight.
Does that happen from year to year? You have particularly strong TAC Cup sides at one time and you find more players are drafted from there?
Yeah, well, I mean, Kev's certainly a lot further advanced on this than me, but hotbeds are what we call them, Sarah, hotbeds of talent. And the Dandenong Stingrays have had a great run. We've got, obviously, the Bendigo Pioneers with the Selwood boys, etc. And the Sandringham Dragons have also had a fantastic history.
With pick 52, Gold Coast have selected Academy nominee Braden Crosley from Palm Beach Currumbin Football Club. Sydney Swans are on the clock.
Another one of their own products, Braden Crosley, and an outstanding, tough, competitive ruckman. His repeat efforts are the real key for him.
Yep.
As we see on the screen there, he's certainly got a little bit of work to do on his endurance. However, it's that physical nature of his game which holds him in really good stead and been great at NEFL level for the Gold Coast Suns over the last couple of years.
I think Shane Mumford, so slightly undersized for ruckman at 198, but does he play with passion and follow up so the hit out hits the deck, he's after it again, and provided great leadership to the Allies. We won the MVP for the Allies this year in the National Championship Division 1. He's got a real presence out on the ground, a real presence in the rooms. You want people like that believe he can win all of the time, and he brings that to the table with that personality of his.
Sydney with the next pick at 53, and as we have a look at our Fox Lab rankings, there is still some absolute gold left. According to those rankings, there's some great talent to be picked up yet.
Yeah, there is. Dylan Moore, look, I didn't know a lot about Dylan Moore until the combine came around, and he's an outstanding young man. Just real work ethic, desire, great character. Joel Garner, another one out of the Eastern Rangers.
Well, now to read out selection 53, we're going to welcome former Sydney Swans premiership player Ty Kennelly. Welcome, Doug. Just before you do that, of course, it was way different for you back in 1999 as a rookie from Ireland. It was all a marvellous journey for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit different, a bit nervous obviously just being here, but congratulations to the boys that have been called out tonight, but there's obviously other ways of getting on the list also, and it doesn't matter even if you're from the other side of the world, and of course there's also the rookie draft. on Monday.
And speaking of which, the international rules, it was terrific. Even for some of the sceptics, the games themselves were fantastic, and you must have enjoyed playing in your day and watching them on the weekend.
Yeah, a bit disappointing in the result, obviously, Hutto, with the Australian boys getting up, but great experience, obviously, to play with some of the best players in the competition for both codes, the GAA and the AFL itself. So concept's starting to get some leverage, and both codes are very happy with it, of course.
And what about the Swans next year? Obviously, disappointment in the end in the finals this year, but high hopes, I'm sure, for 2018.
Yeah, of course, and look, some great pickups. Obviously, young Matty Ling running half-back with some speed, and obviously in the coaching department myself, so I get some time with himself and Tom McCartan, which is going to be great.
Well, good luck with that, and good luck with reading pick 53.
The Sydney Swans with pick 53 have selected Riley Stoddard from the Eastern Rangers.
Well, they've picked a defender
Thank
here.
You, Ty, and the Brisbane Lions.
With some of the great rebounding ability. Again, a great ball user. It stands out to me, Mick, that you've got to be able to kick the footy. That's an absolute priority for any of the smaller type player defenders. And there's just so many of the boys are that left-footed, medium to small defender that uses the ball so well and have a burst of speed. And that's what Stoddard has.
He's got a fantastic tank too, Riley Stoddard. He's run a 14.3 beat before, so had some injury concerns which prevented him from testing late in the year. But that effort is on the board. It is recorded. So I think, Kev, like you mentioned, in terms of kicking the footy, they've gone for some outside class, the Swans, to complement that real elite, tough inside grunt that they've got in their midfield at the minute.
The Brisbane Lions with pick number 54. We await their selection.
And joining us to read out selection number 54 for the Brisbane Lions is three-time Lions premiership player Luke Power. Welcome, Luke.
Thanks for having me.
Well, you were drafted, I think, at pick 5 back in 1997. What was it like back in those days?
A little bit different. We didn't have all the bells and whistles back then that we have now. And I remember that we were in our Year 12 English exam when our names were read out. So we got out of the exam and our families were sort of waiting out the front, ready to tell us what our future was.
Well, you had a wonderful journey in footy, and it hasn't finished. You're now with the National Academy as the head coach. Are you surprised by any of the picks tonight?
No, not really. They all deserve to go where they do. And, if anything, not only do I coach the academy, the National Academy, but I also get out to our state programs, and the kids are just fantastic. Their attitude towards developing and making themselves better players and better people is amazing, and that's a credit to their families and coaches. So
the future of the game's looking good from what you can see?
Very strong.
Well, pick 54, tell us who the Brisbane Lions have chosen.
With pick 54, the Brisbane Lions have selected Academy nominee Jack Parker-Payne from the Brisbane Lions Academy.
Hello. Thank you, Luke. And the Gold Coast Suns are now on the clock.
Well, they've gone for the big, tough fullback here. He was the MVP for the Brisbane Lions in the Under-18 Academy Series. Just doesn't get beaten. He's a man mountain, so he's got some work to do. His tank's not great, but a very, very likeable kid, and another person that brings great quality and character. Good to see him stay at the Lions on the back of Connor Ballenden as well. So the academy working well, keeping local talent at home.
Gold Coast next with pick number 55. Luke Power joked about being in the middle of his English exam when he was told he was drafted. It is an obvious decision now to hold the draft off until Year 12 studies are completed.
With pick 55, the Gold Coast have selected Academy nominee Connor Nutting from Broadbeach Football Club.
Here we go, another local product, Connor Nutting. So fantastic that the academies are selecting within their own
Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes round 3. We'll be back underway very shortly, but as you might see, when you enter the
David King, we've seen some really fascinating players already drafted, but there is still so much talent still to come.
There are some absolute steals still available, Glenn, and we look at some of these names that we've ranked on the Fox Lab rankings, and one that jumps off the page to me is Joel Garner, left-footed halfback flanker, 6 foot tall, sure ball user. He's just an elite talent, captain of the Vic Metro team. I'm surprised he's still there. As we know, we're deep into the draft now. we had him at 24. Who are you shocked by?
Yeah, it is a surprise. Look, Dylan Moore, it is surprising, man. Myers, I thought he'd go, especially after his the grand final performance when he kicked 7 for the Falcons and, you know, had 10 or 11 shots at goal. So he was the best general forward in the TAC Cup this year. He's a bargain. He's there to be taken.
7 goals in the final, not enough, Jace, to be taken at this stage in the national draft.
You're right, Kingy. We are starting to get deep into the draft. That's 3 rounds down. Fingers crossed for those young men that haven't as yet been selected. Take a break here from Sydney Showgrounds. Rounds 4 through 8 on the other side. Welcome back to Fox Footy's live coverage of the 2017 NAB AFL Draft. Rounds 1, 2 and 3 have been completed. And Brad Johnson, as we take a look at the 3rd round selections, we had a few of the clubs coming in for their first pick in this year's draft.
We did. We had Hawthorn, Port Adelaide and Essendon. You see Hawthorn there got James Warp. Will be very happy with that selection. He's tough. He is ready to go. He's got the body ready to go. Similar to Pau Pepper from Port Adelaide. You've got Port Adelaide with their first pick. They went for the 203cm Sam Hayes. And Essendon went for Jordan Houlihan, who's a classy half forward. And he's got the ability to kick multiple goals in a game.
So still deep with talent, still plenty left, and we still know that there are a few highly rated players, but it looks like rounds 4 through 8 are about to get underway. Well, let's go for the Giants pick 56.
All right, the Greater Western Sydney Giants with the next pick. Mick, I want to ask you, what happens now? We see the players get drafted tonight. How soon do they make contact with the club? How soon do they move if they have to? When do they line up and get there?
Very quickly is the short answer. I was actually in the car with Cam Rayner and Paddy Dow the other day going to their press conference, and they said, oh, geez, we were talking to a couple of the boys that have gone before, and guys have moved interstate on Sunday. The draft's only on Friday, so it does happen very, very quickly. They basically pack the bag, get the essentials in, and get on with it.
Well, to announce selection 56, would you please welcome to the stage, representing the GWS Giants, the recently retired Shane Mumford. Hey. I think that's the 2nd biggest cheer of the night, Shane. Well done.
To be expected, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Mate, obviously no one wants their career to end, and obviously your body, you've given it a fair workout over the years, but couldn't quite get over the line for another year.
No, as much as the mind probably wanted to, the body just wouldn't allow it. So I had to make the tough decision to hang him up, and I guess I'm lucky enough that I roll now into a coaching role with the Giants.
Exciting, and you've obviously seen and played with a lot of young, high-level talent over the last few years. So what would be your advice to some of these boys today about, you know, they've obviously been at the top of their juniors all the way coming through, but now going into an AFL club?
Oh yeah, I guess the biggest thing for me is to get in there and earn your stripes. Don't go out there and think it's going to be just as easy as what it was in the 18s, and I guess show some of the older guys a bit of respect.
and you proved that you can come from way back in 2007, 56th in the rookie draft.
Yeah, I think Geelong actually skipped a few picks before they called out me with their very last pick in the rookie draft. So yeah, it was a long time ago now, but yeah, I think I've made the most out of it.
Well, we've got you to select pick 56, so let's find out who's joining your club.
With pick 56, the GWS Giants have selected Zach Giles Langdon from Claremont. Geelong Cats are on the clock.
Yeah, Zach Langdon, who presented really well at state level combine, Mick. Yeah, mature age player again, small forward, quick, powerful player. And again, some of the Waffle boys playing senior level are now getting a consistent opportunity, aren't they, in the last couple of years? Sam Menengola a couple of years ago to Geelong, and he's had, well, a couple of terrific years with the Cats. So clubs are starting to have a good look at that senior footy level, probably for the last 15 to 20% of the choices.
Yeah, and again, Kev, the importance of the state combines. Like, I think there's a lot of emphasis, and Sarah, we spoke about it off air before, on the national combine. The state combines are providing a lot of talent.
With pick 57, Geelong have selected Brian Myers from the Geelong Falcons. Port Adelaide are on the clock.
Well, I'm wrapped for this young fella. That 7 goals grand final day was special. Stevie Milne written all over him, I reckon. He was something out of nothing so often. 50 goals for the year. He deserves his chance. He's got that innate ability. He finds the goals with just a glance or look over the shoulder. That was a special game. Looked like kicking a steel side bottom 10 at one stage, Mick.
Yeah, and he's not quick either. He's got a fantastic tank. He ran a 6-minute 13.2k to put him in the top 3% at the National Combine. But when you're averaging 17 disposals and kicking 3 goals a game at the Falcons, Sarah, I'm not sure speed's too much of an issue for him. So he's a remarkable forward. Maybe the Giants looking, Geelong there, looking just to add a little bit of potency up forward.
Port Adelaide with pick number 58, Jake Patmore, a midfielder, a ranking of 36 with our Fox Footy rankings. Fremantle are up next with 59.
And Patmore is a boy that can play across half-back and accumulate as well through the midfield and changed his body shape. He was a bit podgy earlier in the year. He was really rocket fit late in the year, and his performances were fantastic as well, and just that ball-winning ability, reading the play, setting the play up.
Fremantle's next pick. This is their most significant draft they've had in a long, long time. 2 decades since they've had a good hand at the very top of the draft, and hopefully for their case they can really make some inroads from their picks tonight.
Collingwood are on the clock.
This is a prolific ball-winning midfielder from SA. Very consistent national championship. He's hard as a cat's head, this kid. Works so hard, played some senior footy, of course, in the Sandful. But just that prolific ball-winning ability for this boy is the key to his game. Runs hard and is prepared to run both ways for his side.
He played the 9 league games also at Sturt this year, so he's certainly got a strong body, and played in 2 premierships. He played in their Colts premiership and their reserves premiership, so someone that's highly rated within the club. Good leg speed and some real inside grunt.
Fremantle really focusing on midfielders in this draft tonight.
As we see Collingwood, their picks in, but you're right, Sarah. They're certainly, with the loss of Lockie Weller and some of their midfielders ageing a little bit now. Obviously, Barlow going out and heading to the Suns in recent times, and David Mundy starting to push to the back end of his career.
Okay, so that's our first pass of the night, and it means Collingwood are, of course, out of the draft from here on in. And we probably will see that for a few clubs from now on in. They may not want to take their full complement of picks tonight and will decide to pass. Of course, that is their option. They can do that.
Yeah, it certainly is, and that gives them the opportunity through the rookie draft, through the pre-season draft, to have another look at their list. Some clubs will go into a year with a spot open on the list as well, so still a couple of outstanding names on the board. Joel Garner, I know we've mentioned him. I know Kingy and Luffy have given him a mention as well. Jeez, he can't be too far off. Dylan Moore, his teammate at the Eastern Rangers. Someone's going to get a bargain. We see in the Fox Lab rankings there.
With pick 60, Port Adelaide has selected Joel Garner from the Eastern Rangers. Port Adelaide are on the clock.
A great call. What more could he have done this year? He captained the winning side of the National Championship, made All-Australian, and he's another left-footed half-back, another one. Uses the ball, great decision-maker, sets the play up. Look, it's only a number in the finish, isn't it? He's on a list. He'll capitalise on the opportunity he's been given, and he'll impress everyone from day one the way he'll go about it. He's a real pro in his work and preparation, and there will be an emerging leader, an Indigenous boy that goes to Port.
Yeah, remarkable. I was just about to touch on that, Kev. Another Indigenous player. Geez, have they got a great history. Sam Palpepper had an outstanding year this year, so Joel Garner will fit in seamlessly. Great kid.
With pick 61, Port Adelaide has selected Dom Barry from Glenelg. North Melbourne are on the clock.
Dom Barry played a handful of games with Melbourne, maybe 3 or 4 years ago now, then spent a bit of time back in the Northern Territory. Didn't play footy all of the time, went back to his roots in that area, but then went to Glenelg this year and had a fantastic year. Averaged 20 disposals a game. A boy that, again, plays through the midfield, presented at state combine level in great condition. You could just see his mind was set on getting back into the AFL.
He actually went to Adelaide, Sarah, to pursue a teaching degree and go back to uni. He literally rocked up on the doorstep of Glenelg and said, hey, is there any chance I can play here this year? So that's an incredible story, and he's a fantastic young man, like Kev touched on. Had an opportunity, played the 5 games at Melbourne, struggled a little bit being away from home. It just goes to show, if you want something bad enough and you really apply yourself, anything's possible. So remarkable story, Dom Barry, and I wish him all the best in his second chance at AFL level. And again, another local product, Indigenous talent. It's going to be some exciting times at Port Adelaide.
It's incredibly inspiring to hear stories of these guys that perhaps it didn't work out for them the first time, but they've been able to find a way in, not through the traditional pathways, but a way in nonetheless. And what a great story that is for Dom Barry.
With pick 62, North Melbourne have selected Kyron Hayden from Subiaco. GWS are on the clock.
Well, this is the boy that broke Nick Natanui's record for the running vertical jump, a 103 centimetre. So he's a powerfully built inside midfielder with elite athletic ability, and had some injury little niggles at the start of the year and at different times through the year, but just that one little piece of athletic brilliance would make you go back to his tapes. That's what clubs will do. They'll go back and find all these games, have a good hard look at it, and he gets his opportunity, which is fantastic, and I'm sure he'll take that opportunity.
All right, Richmond are next up. They've already selected some midfield players tonight, but also, as the boys mentioned earlier, significantly some key forwards to help bolster that department as they move through the next few seasons, and of course Jack Revold up forward.
With pick 63, Richmond have selected Ben Miller from Subiaco. GWS are now on the clock.
I really like Ben Miller. He's a developing kid. He's come out of Kalgoorlie, so he did a lot of travel to get to this point. Again, a fantastic story, and somebody that really developed under the tutelage of Peter Sumich. Glenn Jakovic, another guy that was involved in the WA State Academy. He kicked 30 out of 30 in the Brad Johnson goal kicking test, so he was fantastic there. What impressed me was the strength in his hands. He's just got a great grab. He was probably the standout performer, to be honest, at the draft combine. He was a 2.91, which is electric for a tall man, and 8.1 agility, so he's in the top 2% there.
With pick 64, GWS has selected Academy nominee Nicholas Shipley from the St George Dragons. Fremantle are on the clock.
That's fantastic. He's a boy from West of Sydney, and to see him, I think he's the first Academy boy selected by the Giants, a local boy, and he's here tonight. And he's a boy that played soccer at 15 years of age. He's a convert across to the game. I like him with Josh Kennedy from the Swans. Contested ball winner. He's got a strong body on him, but he's quick. He's a sub 3 seconds for 20 metres. Distributes the ball very, very well. What a great moment for the Giants.
And well done to Darren Denneman and Mick Clift out of AFL New South Wales. Mick was the one that discovered him. He's here tonight. And Nick Shipley's an outstanding young man. Mum's Peruvian, so when you talk about the multicultural game and what the game's bringing out of the west of Sydney, he's that in a nutshell.
All right, next up, the Fremantle Football Club. Pick number 65.
With pick 65, Fremantle has selected Thomas North from the Eastern Rangers. Essendon are on the clock.
Prolific ball-winning midfielder Thomas North. And has he worked on his game this year? A very devoted young man, and racks them up. There's nothing for him to get his 28 to 30 possessions in a game. And I suppose some of the traits of a Sam Mitchell that come from the Eastern Rangers. Sammy, of course, overlooked at a couple of drafts, famously after winning back-to-back best and fairest at the Eastern Rangers. And Tommy North has got that ball-winning ability, which is still the main ingredient, to win the footy and then use it smartly, and Thomas North has got that.
You know, he likes some tough Ross Lyon, his midfielders, and Mitch Croden, and obviously now Tom North certainly fit that mould. He's in the room too from the Eastern Rangers family.
With pick 66, Essendon have selected Brandon Zirk-Thatcher from Sturt. Hawthorn are on the clock.
Well, the A to Z of it all, hey? Played in the Nationals at under 18 level for SA. Good big-bodied player too. Lovely size, key position size, about 195, I think, Nick. So he's a boy that potentially can play in a key position for the footy club, played in key defence for SA.
Yeah, a couple that I'm surprised that are still on the board too. When we're talking Hayden Schleuf, who is the Sandover medalist from WA, who's ready to go for AFL footy. The other one, Bailey Banfield, who won the Claremont Best and Fairest as a 19-year-old and was touted as a future captain of the club at 19 years of age as well. Outstanding athlete.
With pick 67, Hawthorn have selected Dylan Moore from the Eastern Rangers. West Coast are on the clock.
Finally.
Great result. Fantastic, and great to see a young man that's as well-rounded and as well-polished as him getting an opportunity. He was a 2,000 metre steeplechase Vic title winner in 2014 and a 1,600 metre stall gift winner in 2016. So what they've managed to get there very late in the draft, it is an outstanding player. Very, very good athlete, and he was all-Australian, so you've got an all-Australian going at pick 67, which is remarkable.
There's no way Hawthorn would have expected that, Shifter.
No, I had him inside 40. He's just a busy player. Footy smarts, gets in those right spots, front and square up forward, then through the midfield he's either boring in and getting it or linking up and running it forward. So he's in the game the whole time. The boy from Caulfield Grammar, so mixed his footy between school footy and playing for the Eastern Rangers, and then when he bobbed up with Vic Metro, he was a star. And as the boys, our analysts were talking about earlier, I suppose that it was the height that maybe they said, well, gee, why would you take him earlier? But he is now on a list at Hawthorn, doesn't have to move that far, a boy from Roeville. Wonderful to see Dylan Moore get his opportunity.
Such a nerve-wracking and anxious night for the young men at home and right around Australia, sitting and waiting for their name to be picked out. Our hearts really go out to them because they must be on the edge of their seat.
With pick 68, the West Coast has selected Hamish Brayshaw from the Sandringham Dragons.
Oh, fantastic.
Fremantle are on the clock.
And a little fist pump there from Dad, and a cuddle. That all looks good.
I think Andy was more worried about his brother Hamish than himself, because he probably knew he was going to get picked up. And so Hamish and Andy have both made the grade tonight at the Brayshaws. That's a brilliant moment. Mum's in tears.
And both in Perth.
I was just about to say that, Sarah.
They can share a house.
I think there's some tears there from Deb, and geez, you couldn't have asked for anything better for the boys to end up in the same state. Congratulations. They are one of the best families I've come across, Sarah, the Brayshaws. Had a lot to do with Angus, a little bit to do with Hamish last year coming through the draft, and obviously a bit to do with Andy. You don't get better people than the Brayshaws, so congratulations. It's a great result as we see a couple of the West Coast recruiting staff over to congratulate the Brayshaws.
It's amazing how it's occurred, because Mark Brayshaw, remember, drafted out of Claremont 28 years ago and stayed, of course, in Melbourne after playing for North Melbourne. They're back over to where Ian Brayshaw, the grandfather of the family, was a great state cricketer. So they've returned the two boys to show their football skills.
Fremantle has selected Lloyd Meek from the Greater Western Victoria Rebels. Geelong are on the clock.
And again, a boy overlooked last year. Come back, bigger, bolder and better than ever as a ruckman. 202 centimetres. Love the way he uses the ball for a boy of that size. Was a soak for knowledge this year. Just wanted to improve every aspect of his game. And that he did. He pushed up and played some VFL footy. Played a game as a 19-year-old for Vic Country as well. And when we had the Americans out for tryouts, he was the first boy to put his hand up to come in for a week of training to learn more, to work with Mark Choco Williams and learn more about the ruck craft. So a boy that, well, he's got his chance and he deserves it very much.
Another country boy that will help back up Sean Darcy as well. So they'll know each other quite well, Sean Darcy and Lloyd Meek. Played 4 games of EFL footy also.
Geelong have passed on all remaining picks, and so Carlton are now on the clock.
So Geelong are done for the night. We spoke before about the Brayshaw boys both heading west. What support is there in place for players that have to move into state and make that transition? They're young men, and obviously it's a really big move.
host families are really big now, Sarah, so most of the clubs, well, they will have families set up for these boys to move into, so I'm sure, and it's interesting when you look at that West Coast of Freo one with the Brayshaws. That's one way of keeping players on the other side of the country is to collude with each other, which I'm not suggesting for a minute they did, but remarkable. But the clubs do a fantastic job, cater for the boys' needs and get them into a home-like environment very, very quickly.
With pick 70, Carlton have selected Angus Schumacher from the Bendigo Pioneers. That's the end of round 4. Hawthorn are now on the clock.
And Schumacher's a winger half-back, good user of the footy. Again, third in the best and fairest for the Bendigo Pioneers. So he's the right shape and type to play. Impressive, about a 190-centimetre boy that has got that versatility as well. And he'll get his chance, and that would be 5 or 6 from Bendigo.
An amazing night for the Bendigo Pioneers. Obviously, their system working so well at the moment.
Shifter's doing very well to contain himself here too, Sarah. Obviously a product of the Sandhurst Footy Club out of Bendigo.
I'm from that region as well, so there's a bit of bias going on.
There you go. So fantastic result though for the Bendigo Pioneers, and just goes to show, I think the country boys sometimes can be underestimated for their ability to adapt. I think something that's attractive to the clubs too is the country boys are somewhat underdeveloped, and I say that in all due respect to them, so therefore they've got a greater ceiling and more scope for improvement as well.
Requires great commitment. A lot of these players living in the country need to travel a long way to go to training, to go to games, etc. It's not just as easy perhaps as some of the city boys may have at Shifter.
Yeah, and they can end up anywhere with their schooling, so a lot of the Bendigo Pioneers boys are down at Geelong Grammar. That's a fair way from Bendigo, and so in holidays and pre-season they'll get back to Bendigo to play. They've got to take up that educational opportunity when it's offered to them, but they still had a great result in producing so many draftees from Bendigo.
Well, a great result for the Bendigo Pioneers was Paddy Dow going to Carlton at pick number 3. Here he is with Ben Dixon.
Paddy Dow, now a blue, how's it feel?
Yeah, it's unreal. I can't wait to get started and earn the respect of all the boys, but yeah, it's really overwhelming at the moment.
Interesting at the top 4 because no one expected I suppose you to go so early, but Carlton, they gave you a little bit of an inkling, didn't they?
Yeah, well, they did say they rated me high, pretty high, so, and then they said, oh, you're just going to have to wait until the night and as soon as everyone else finds out, so, yeah.
And your year, outstanding. I was saying yesterday on radio, I don't think you played one bad game for the year. Would that be right?
Yeah, I sort of tried to play as consistent as possible, and even when I wasn't having the greatest game, still try and do those little things, and I guess I put together a few better games throughout the year, and that sort of helped me out a lot. So,
how does it feel now that you're actually drafted? Because it's a big build-up to the night, isn't it?
I don't think it's fully sunk in yet, but yeah, no, it's unreal. I can't wait to get started.
Well, you'll be no doubt one of the big blues down there. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks for that. Cheers. Well done, Paddy.
Congratulations to Paddy. As we have a look at Hawthorn at 71, selected Jackson Ross, a forward.
Passed on all remaining selections, and the Adelaide Crows are now on the clock.
And Jackson Ross, a boy that just 3 years ago was on the European circuit for a month or two with tennis.
Wow.
As he pursued being the next superstar at that sport, but then come back to footy. 192-centimetre boy with brilliant endurance and goal-kicking ability. Again, down at Hailbury College under Matty Lloyd. He's one of their group. Has kicked multiple bags this year, both at school level and playing for the Eastern Rangers. Lightly built. It will take some time, but runs and runs and runs. And has got that innate ability around the goals.
And speaking about Lloydie Shifter, I did hear a whisper a couple of days ago that he took a few boys like Andy Brayshaw and Luke Davies and them out for dinner last week. So don't worry, he's claiming all of the Haileybury boys that are going.
Yeah. Hope he paid the bill.
And the Adelaide Crows have also passed on all remaining picks, and North Melbourne are now on the clock.
So Adelaide out of the draft. Now, we know that they've made a commitment to secure father-son prospect Jackson Edwards in the rookie draft, son of 300-gamer Tyson. So some hope also there for him.
Yeah, great story, Jackson Edwards. He's an extremely professional kid, one of the more professional kids I've come across in time. And just a query over his leg speed was the only doubt. He's certainly got a very, very good football brain. So look forward to seeing Jackson Edwards get his opportunity through the rookie draft.
They've opted to go into 2018 with 38 senior listed players and 5 to 6 rookies for list management and salary cap reasons. So that's part of the reason, of course, the Adelaide Crows have decided to sit the rest of the draft out. As we look now to North Melbourne at pick number 72. They've picked up midfielders so far tonight.
With pick 72, North Melbourne has selected Tristan Xerri from the Western Jets. Fremantle are on the clock.
Well, they've gone tall this time. Xerri would be ruckman and forward, those sorts of spots. 200-centimetre boy, again from out in the western suburbs of Melbourne, and a boy that has improved this year quite dramatically. Can take a very good contested mark, still learning the ruck craft, and so they're stocked up with a big player.
And another one, Kev, that was exposed to some VFL football. So it just goes to show that the ability for some of these players to push up and play senior football, show they can hold their own at that level whilst pre-draft, I think has a significant impact on recruiters and where they see these guys fitting. So great result, and well done to Shane Sexton too. He's had a pretty good night with the Western Jets.
With pick 73, Fremantle has selected Sam Switkowski from the Box Hill Hawks. Hawthorn are on the clock.
Another boy that's hung in there. Yeah, come up through the under-18 system, played some great consistent VFL footy for the last number of years with the Box Hill Hawks, and been a state representative as well. Determined, dogged player, ferocious competitor and a great ball winner.
Starting to see those mature age players come through in the back end of the draft here, so I'm sure we'll see a few more clubs start to pass now and rule themselves out. It's been a fantastic night and great to see. I spoke earlier on the coverage about the depth of the draft, Sarah, so great to see we're still in there with live picks at 74.
Hawthorn have also passed on all remaining picks, and the Western Bulldogs are now on the clock.
All right, so Hawthorn's sitting things out from now. We spoke before about the support systems for the players. What about their player managers? What role do they have from tonight onwards, and also in the lead up to the draft?
Yeah, most of the players would have a player manager by now, probably 80% of them. A few would wait to tonight because they're uncertain as to whether they'll need one, whether they actually get drafted or not. But they'll help with all of the movements interstate, which I think probably half of the players will have to move states. They'll make sure that they're well looked after with the accommodation that's needed in the other state, that they'll find the right accommodation, the right home. And of course, their main role will be with the next contract, you know, with their set
with
payments.
With pick 74, the Western Bulldogs have selected Callum Porter from the Gippsland Power. Fremantle are on the clock.
Terrific result for this young fella, best and fairest winner at the Gippsland Power, prolific ball winner. Had a game lately against the Falcons, it was, had 34 possessions, kicked 4. Now, I think they're probably watching that game. If you see a game like that from a young fella, you can fall in love with his potential. But a consistent ball win, about the 182-centimetre mark, and just had a wonderful year for Gippsland Power under Lee Brown.
Been really good, the Bulldogs, in the last few years. Obviously, Simon Dalrymple and Jason McCartney getting it right with those players in the middle of the draft to the back end of the draft, and having great success. And that's what really good recruiting is all about.
With pick 75, Fremantle has selected Scott Jones from East Perth. Essendon are on the clock.
Well, the big ruckman, we talk about those that take time. Mick, it was probably 5 years ago. He's in the National Academy, this young fellow, and was as raw as there is. And this year, he had the breakout year. 15 or 16 senior games at waffle level. He's a genuine 204-centimetre ruckman and looked in great condition at our state combine over there, and had just grown in confidence through that senior exposure. And you could just see when we had a chat to him that he really believed he could play AFL. So it does take time with those big ruckmen, and he gets his opportunity, and although it's late in the draft, he's on a list. He'll be training at a professional level within the next 48 hours.
Interesting too, Kev, we do a lot of talk around where the game's going and the interchange cap and all that. We've now seen Fremantle take Lloyd Meek, a ruckman, seen them take Scott Jones as a ruckman, already having Sean Darcy there. So they've got some real genuine height. We know the likes of Aaron Sandilands and those are coming to the end, but geez, it's remarkable the height they're carrying on their list.
The Bombers with pick 76 are up next, and interesting to see what they have done tonight, because Joe Watson recently said the current list is the best he's seen at Bomberland in 15 seasons. Obviously incredibly busy during the trade period with Devon Smith, Stringer Sard as well, so they've bolstered their list that way. In addition, they came in late to the draft tonight. They've taken a key defender and a forward in their 2 picks, so a small hand to play.
Yeah, they did come in late, but this is just topping up what they've done throughout the trade period.
With pick 76, Essendon have selected Matt Guelphy from Claremont.
Another boy that's had a terrific senior year. Guelphy, a bit probably unlucky last year. He was thereabouts last year, but then such a consistent ball winner through the midfield. Tested brilliantly athletically, Mick, at state combine level again. Quick, agile, very professional in his approach again, and just a consistent production, call it, when you're winning the footy and you present yourself in such a very good physical condition when it comes to testing.
Port Adelaide have also passed on all remaining picks, so the West Coast Eagles are now on the clock.
You're right, Kevin. I really liked Matt Guelphy last year. I thought he was extremely stiff. So, again, a mark of character and resilience, that he can go away, take his footy to another level, and come back and get an opportunity 12 months later. So it's a really good pickup for the Bombers there with Matt Guelphy so late in the draft.
And the state leagues, the SANFL, the WAFL and the VFL continue year after year to give guys second opportunities.
And toss in the NEFL as well. The North East AFL up there in New South Wales and Queensland and the Northern Territory provides the opportunity for them in that part of the world.
The West Coast Eagles have also passed on all remaining selections, and the Sydney Swans are now on the clock.
So getting towards the end of the draft, we're seeing many clubs pass as they complete their lists and their rosters for the upcoming season. The Sydney Swans now with something to ponder as they look at pick number 77.
Yeah, fantastic, Sarah. And I think we can all start to move past the talk at the start of each year where there's no depth in the draft and it's not great. And look, to be picking, like I said, into the mid-70s is reflective of the talent that is out there in Australia, whether it's in underage competitions or state leagues. So really, really pleasing. The game's in good shape.
Sydney Swans have also passed on all remaining picks, and GWS Giants are therefore on the clock.
The other thing is, I mean, some of the guys still left. Hayden McLean, a tall forward come ruckman that's still there. Alex Martini, the tough midfielder from Glenelg, South Australia. I've got no doubt some of these guys are going to get an opportunity in the rookie draft to showcase their wares.
The GWS Giants have also passed on all remaining selections, and North Melbourne therefore are on the clock.
What percentage of the players we see drafted tonight will be ready for senior football come the start of next season?
I think you just look at the top 20. The top 20 you'd expect to play fairly early. That's been the pattern in recent years. And particularly when you looked at, they pick midfielders who are ready to run. So you'd think that they'll play. And they'll play, some of them will play round one. They're ready to go. They're dying to go. Look, just for the rookie draft, Shane Mumford, remember that, boys, that might be listening out there, that he was choice 56, I think, in a rookie draft. There'll be some great players picked on Monday.
With pick 77, North Melbourne have selected Billy Hartung from Hawthorn. Fremantle are on the clock.
There you go.
Yeah, look, you're good enough to be on a list, Billy. Played some terrific games for Hawthorn. Yeah, he probably has areas of his game he's got to work on, but geez, run and carry work is good enough. So there'll be other areas of his game, and hopefully he can really knuckle down and fix up those little challenges in his game to make him a consistent AFL player, but certainly good enough to be on a list on what was seen in his first 2 to 3 years of AFL.
He's a prolific kick of the football. He's got great penetration and depth.
The Fremantle Dockers have also passed on all remaining selections, and Carlton Football Club are now on the clock.
Interesting. We're just chatting before about players being ready as well. I think it's a great credit to the programs that are being run in the States now through state academy programs, the great work that the talent managers are doing in preparing these young men. I know it's a tough business. I think it's probably as tough as it's ever been for young men to transition in, considering the expectation, but it is an absolute credit to the people that work in our talent pathways, prepare these young men, not just as footballers, but also as people to come in and do what they do so quickly.
Is it skill or is it fitness that are the biggest things that the players find challenging over that first summer and first pre-season?
With pick 78, Carlton have selected Jared Garlett from South Fremantle. Carlton are on the clock.
Gee, that's interesting, isn't it? Because, of course, Jared decided to walk away from AFL, but then nominated just a few weeks ago. So he'd been playing community football of late over in WA. Certainly he's good enough to play, but it was just too much the professional level for him initially up there at the Gold Coast. But, yeah, grow and mature over a year, and he's only been out of the game that long. He's certainly good enough to play, and he gets another opportunity. They've obviously spoken to him, feel that he's ready to come back again and take up the challenges of AFL.
And to answer your question just before, Sarah, I think it's the fitness aspect, because it's just a physical maturity thing. Their bodies aren't ready to run at the level in terms of intensity for extended periods of time like guys are that have had 2, 3, 4 senior pre-season. So certainly not the skill aspect. They polish them, they get them better, they find improvement, but it's just more so the physical maturity is what holds most of the players back.
Well, the Carlton Football Club has passed on the final selection of the AFL Draft 2017, and that therefore concludes the draft for 2017.
So there we have it, some dreams come true for so many young men
Congratulations
tonight.
to all the young
as
players.
Shifter mentioned, there'll be some heartbroken players around Australia tonight that were hoping that their name would be called out. But the journey's not over for them. They still have the rookie draft and, of course, next year as well. What are your big thoughts on tonight, and what do you think we can gain from seeing these picks tonight and where these players are ending up?
Well, the first emotion for me, Sarah, is just how proud I am of the players, to see so many smiles in the room, to see the boys in their new polos, and relief for the families, the journey that you go on with the families and the ups and downs, but to see the smiles. Look, I just think the quality of young men that have come into our game tonight holds it in really good stead going forward, and just genuine pride and relief, like I say, for the players and the families.
Just embrace the moment. So 70-odd youngsters will get the chance for the first time to join an AFL list. Enjoy this moment. You only get drafted for the first time once, and let's hope that you capitalise on this brilliant opportunity you've got to join the professional AFL.
Thanks very much for your insight throughout the night. You guys know the system better than anyone and know these young men, having so much to do with them over the years. So thank you so much, Jason Dunstall. We now throw things over to you.
Thank you, Sarah, and just echoing those sentiments, congratulations to all those young men that have been drafted. And to those sitting at home that didn't hear their names called out, commiserations, but all is not lost. A number of you will get opportunities in the rookie draft and or the pre-season draft, so good luck in finding a spot then. So rounds 4 through 8, Jono, still we saw some gems picked up, and a lot of clubs are going to be really happy with what they found deep in the draft.
Oh, definitely. Port Adelaide will be with Jake Patmore from WA, Joel Garner, who was highly rated by the Fox Lab rankings as well. Don Barry gets another chance, ex-Melbourne player as well. So he was the first to go with there. Billy Hartung will get a look in for North Melbourne as a player from Hawthorn who was delisted at the end of last year. So some players there that will certainly have an impact over the years to come, especially Patmore and Garner. They're not too far away, I don't think, from playing senior footy.
Yeah, it was interesting, wasn't it? And as we got deeper into the rounds, Hamish Brayshaw. Now, that's really interesting for the Brayshaw family.
That
so
is.
The two brothers were both picked up they've both gone to Perth, but to different clubs.
Yeah,
so young
good.
Andrew with pick 2 went to Fremantle.
And they'll probably live
and
together and go
Hamish at
separate
68 goes to West Coast. So we saw plenty of tears from Mum, but fantastic to see them both get a go.
And Thatcher will go what, Jason?
Berserk.
He will go berserk. Don't
There's
worry
some
about
great
that.
names there as well. As you mentioned, at the bottom of round 5, Billy Hartung getting a second chance at North Melbourne, and they can certainly use a player with his outside speed.
Oh, definitely. He'll create run and drive. Yeah, he needs to use the ball a little bit better and put a bit more physical pressure on the opposition. Brad Scott will be trying to get that through him as well. Jared Garlett there, ex-Gold Coast player, gets that opportunity now with the Carlton Football Club. And I know they have been speaking to Josh Hill, from ex-West Coast player now, to come over and potentially help with these young players settling into life in the AFL world. All
right, so we're going to take a break here on Fox Footy, but stick around because when we come back, we will go through exactly how your club fared in the 2017 NAB AFL Draft. Welcome back to Fox Footy's live coverage of the 2017 NAB AFL Draft, coming to you from Sydney Showgrounds. It's been an exciting evening. So many young men thrilled to have an AFL home. We're just going to recap them now as we welcome back to the panel Glenn Luff and also David King alongside Brad Johnson. Let's go very, very way back to the beginning. The top 10. It seems so long ago, doesn't it?
Well, that does. And you see there Cameron Rayner from the Western Jets. He goes number 1. Andrew Brayshaw was going thereabouts. Everyone maybe thought 4 or 5, but he jumped straight up to Fremantle there, and he's gone at pick 2. Paddy Dowsall class at 3. And North Melbourne, well, Kingy, they get the class they need through the midfield there with Davies Uniacke.
I'm very happy with that. And look, there's real genuine quality in the midfield at the top of the draft. We know that. We spoke at length about that pre-draft. I think the pick at pick 6, Jaden Stephenson, he'll be a sensation for Collingwood. Really exciting player, a line breaker. He's exactly what Collingwood need.
He's unique. We had him as a key forward 12 months ago. That's what his numbers reflected. Turns into a winger during the under-18 championships and then plays as an inside midfielder. He's got plenty of tricks.
And apologies if we've mispronounced any of the names. We've endeavoured to get them right. Always bragging rights when it comes to the feeder clubs, and it's the Eastern Rangers at 9 who really stand out.
Well, they get it, don't they? Which is a huge honour for the Eastern Rangers, Bendigo Pioneers, as well as the Dandenong Stingrays and Sandringham Dragons, all in the TAC Cup competition. Sturton, Claremont, Sample and Waffle. And Geelong Falcons there, Mick Turner during the week, where there was an article saying that he thought 5 to 10 would get drafted and rookied. So they're on the right path there, the Falcons, with 4 drafted tonight, with the rookie draft still to come.
All right, time now to recap how each of the 18 clubs fared. We'll do it in alphabetical order, kicking it off with the Adelaide Crows.
Well, really like their selections. They only got a couple there. Darcy Fogarty, he's a tackle breaker, and I think the stars in the game at the moment are able to break those tackles. We talk a lot about Martin, Selwood, Fife, Chris Judds of the past. That's what Darcy Fogarty is for me.
Both injured this year, so they've backed the underage form, like they did with Jake Lever a few years back, and both SA boys, so they'd be pretty happy with that.
Oh, they'd be very happy. His vision, who's taken hangers, and he's doing it all, representing South Australia, so he'll complement their forward line in the years to come.
You just see Don Pike there be excited. They were so close in 2017, hopefully looking to go a step further in 2018. Well, the Brisbane Lions had 3 selections in the top 20, including the cherished number 1 pick.
Well, again, exactly what we just spoke about. Rayner is a tackle breaker. He's an absolute beast, really, to get to ground, Jono. You said that earlier tonight. He spreads well. Despite his lack of run, he does find himself on the outside.
Reads it so well, King.
Have a look at back leading to goal, and that's a real skill in the game. I mean, often you need to reprogram these juniors when they come from the under-18 competition to AFL. It's a different game, but it's almost like Dustin Martin. He can do different things, Luffy. I mean, we see him kick different goals here in many different ways. It's just the modern player.
Everyone talks about Dustin Martin. It's probably more Petraka and even Robbie Gray, but there's 5 or 6 different ways of kicking goals, and this is the last one with the running goal in the under-18 championships. He'll be a star.
His endurance will improve. I mean,
definitely.
You get to an AFL club, get the dietitian on your back every 2 days. I'm sure that that'll sharpen up really
They've
quickly.
drafted so well the Brisbane Lions over the last few years. McCluggage, Berry, Hipwood, Witherden, and now you had Cam Rayner and Zach Bailey, Braden Starcevich in the top 20 as well. Great players.
And it's forward to centre stuff, and tonight they really loaded up on the forwards.
It's a big weight to carry that #1 pick, but also some depth going further into the draft for the Brisbane Lions. So that'd be very, very exciting. I'm sure Chris Fagan really pleased with the haul that they have pulled from this year's draft. Let's move to the Carlton Football Club, Luffy, because they're an interesting one. They had a couple of picks inside the top 10, and this is a team that we need to see moving forward.
Yeah, and I think the back half has been pretty solid over the last couple of years. They had to get mid and mid-forward players, and I think they've addressed that tonight with about four of those types. Paddy Dow, he's a go-forward player. I mean, they liken him to Patrick Dangerfield. He sees the ball, he gets the ball, he goes forward.
And he brings into the corridor. He's a really aggressive kick, Jono, and I think that that's exactly what the clubs are looking at now. Not safe kicks. You need to be able to create scores. Just have a look at how evasive he is. He's always using angles. There's that little inboard kick. It's aggressive, but the follow-up, look at that. Through a hole, through a gap, and then a better delivery than the first one. But he's going to be a star. Pick 3's about right for him.
It is, and that's what Lockie O'Brien can do as well. He loves changing the angles, loves using the leg that he's got. It's an elite kick, and Tom De Koning obviously is a taller player, can play in the ruck, can go forward and take a contested mark.
Jared Garlett's an interesting one. Originally picked 15 a few years back, so hopefully it comes good.
We do see those late in the draft, don't they? The odd speculator, just a second chance or one that catches everyone by surprise, but hopefully he goes very, very well. The Pies entered with pick #6, and before we talk about that, they also got another father-son, Jono, in Tyler Brown, didn't they, joining his brother Callum at Collingwood?
Yeah, which is great to see as well. We know what Gavin was able to produce at Collingwood for a number of years and how tough he was. So Tyler and Callum will both try and produce fantastic careers, and you love Jaden Stevenson there at pick 6, Kingy.
Yeah, I do. I think this is a real wild card player. This guy could be anything. He's run and carry. Look at this. Same sort of highlight as Dow. Just the ability to weave through traffic, stay composed. The ball drop, whilst it's not 100% right every time, it's when he does get it right, it's pure. The lace is facing exactly where the ball needs to go. I love his agility. I love the way he plays with angles, kicks the ball at 65%, which is fantastic for an outside type player. I think he's a classic wingman in the making. Collingwood are going to have some fun with him.
Well, he gives them options. He can go forward, he can go onto a wing, play inside. He's kicked 3+ goals in 11 of 30 games that we've covered. And he hadn't had 30+ disposals until late in the season, and in 3 of his last 5 games he did that. So he's got plenty of strings to his bow.
There is a lot happening at the Essendon Footy Club. They're on an upward spiral. They did a lot of business in the trade period. They picked up Jake Stringer, Adam Sard, also Devon Smith. What do you make of their draft selections?
Well, Houlihan's another one of those wild card forwards, isn't he? I mean, just not sure what he's going to do. Low possession, but maximum damage.
This guy can take a grab. I mean, they talk Jeremy Howe. This guy can take a grab, but he's low disposal. But what he can do and what he can bring to the modern game is pressure. He tackles, and he tackles to hurt.
And we had a bit of fun before, Braden Zerk Thatcher, but this guy can.
When they put the initial there,
it says B Zerk, so I'm sure the Essendon fans at home will be hoping he does exactly that in the years to come.
Let's talk about the Fremantle Dockers. I mean, a couple of early picks. It was a very, very important draft for them. And at picks 2 and 5, you know you're getting a couple of quality players.
Gun midfielders love him. I think when you look at this list build or rebuild, if you like, and Jono, you've been critical of Fremantle in years gone by. This is what you were talking about. Give them a couple of drafts to reset, and that gives them the luxury, Glenn, of Fife and Walters being able to stay forward. We saw Fife kick 24 goals in his Brownlow year. That needs to be closer to 45 if they're to have the season this year that they're hoping to have. But Brayshaw and Chera, they're fantastic selections.
Brayshaw, Chera, the stars. Crowder, North, just accumulators. But they may do a job. So they've loaded up the midfield, and it just gives Ross Lyon a lot more options going forward.
How long before Ross Lyon refers to Meek as his ruckman? He'll say that he's had Meek ruckman for years. That's what he'll say. There's no doubt about that, but a great name.
Yeah. We saw a number of ruckmen taken deep in the draft as well. I think we're steering away from using the high selections on them because they do take a long time to develop, and certainly Meek's that type, isn't he?
Yep. Yeah, and Sam Hayes for Port Adelaide, which we'll touch on pick 47.
All right, well, speaking of Ross Lyon, Ben Dixon has caught up with him.
He with Ross Lyon traded extremely well to get pick 2 and 5, especially Andrew Brayshaw. Everyone was a little bit shocked in the room, but big anticipation after Cam Rayner.
Yeah, well, look, there was a lot of debate, internal debate, but we're absolutely thrilled. He's not obviously, but if you're in the footy world, you know Mark and been long involved and a strong sporting history, and the other brother at Melbourne. So look, he's rock solid. Like, he was really quite emotional on stage. He's thrilled. His family's, grandparents are over there. 3 second, 20 metre, leap beeper, the yo-yo testy smash, really tough, great vision. So everything that you expect at pick 2 that they would have, he has. So, he should be ready to go. He'll be playing a lot of senior footy next year.
And Adam Cerra at pick 5, we thought he was going to go 3 or 4, so you got a good bargain there as well.
Yeah, like coming in, I thought the debate probably North, Spender Brad Scott. I think more, Unaki, whatever you pronounce it, or Cerra, they were up and about. So we would have been happy with either, but I think our guys had Cerra. They would have taken him first. So look, it's all to play out, but I've seen vision of him. I don't get involved much, but he's an elite decision maker, an enormous runner, really long, bit in the mould of Simon Black in a sense, So whereas Davis Unaki was a bit more like Cooney, explosive. So yeah, we're thrilled. Like, great characters, endurance beasts, and inside mids, and it's exactly what our list needs at this point.
So you give the recruiters the nod. Brad Lloyd gets a tick tonight.
He'll get a tick in a couple of years.
Thanks, Ross.
No worries.
Gee, I'm glad they got Cerra and not Davies Uniacke, because he would have had all sorts of trouble pronouncing that name. Okay, the Cats, since the end of the season, all the talk's been about getting Gary Ablett back to Geelong. That's been done. How did they fare in the draft?
Instant impact, I reckon. Lockie Fogarty can play that pressuring role. Now, he gets a lot of the ball, but he's a pressuring machine. Over 9 tackles average in the TAC and the under-18 champs. Tim Kelly, he's a mature age midfielder. He's got class. He kicked 7 goals in a game this year, so he can play straight away. Constable's like your Paddy Cripps. Now, he could play, but he might be a year away. And Brian Myers, 7 goals in that TAC grand final.
All those selections way, way, way above what we had on the Fox rankings.
Yep.
You see Brian Myers at pick 57. We had him at around the mid-20s mark. I mean, that's an absolute steal for a goal-kicking small forward. I think David Mundy, when I see Constable, and I just think that's where they're going with Geelong, that they want to win it now. They've got players that are ready to come in and perform as early as round 1 next year. So I think this is their time.
And Fogarty as well, being their best. You mentioned the tackle. He can use it well before, and he changes the angles with his feet as well. He's an elite kick over about 30 metres, 25 to 30 metres, so he can break open the play with his legs.
There are going to be a lot of Geelong fans happy to hear you talking about these players in those sort of terms. I love the balance and poise of this young man and ability to hit targets. I think it's fantastic. Gold Coast is a team, I think, that's under as much pressure as any club in the AFL, and this was a draft they have to get right.
My favourite pick there is Big Crosley.
Yeah,
I mean, you talk about Shane Mumford. He's Shane Mumford. He's a big boy, and look, he probably had the best record at the under-18 championships this year of the ruckman. So he's an exciting type for Gold Coast.
Will Power was a bit of a wild card, if you like, as a selection. We didn't expect him to be anywhere near that high, so maybe they see something in him that hasn't been quite exposed yet.
And Crossley was on AFL 360 earlier in the year as well. He handled himself pretty well when Robbo was getting stuck into him, so he's ready to go.
A lot of talent on the GWS list, and they were able to add a little bit more tonight. Did they get what they need?
Well, they've got a potential star. I mean, Aidan Bonner was seen as the best under 15 in the country before he did his 2 knees. So they've got a potential star there. Brent Daniels, we loved him. We had him 16 on the Fox Lab rank. He's a really busy player. He's small, but he can bring that pressure game to GWS, which they lack. And that's probably the one thing they battle with from a contender point of view. And he can bring that, but he can kick goals. I mean, all these small forwards that went can kick goals as well as pressure.
Size is not an issue when you can do that around traffic like that. So I think it's a really canny selection by the GWS Giants.
And Sam Taylor, key defender, so he was very good for Western Australia throughout this year.
And he played late in the Waffle Seniors and did really well. So another good pick.
All right, so a good draft for GWS. A quick break on Fox Footy. When we come back, we'll have a look at the other 9 clubs and see exactly how they fared in this year's draft. Welcome back to the Sydney Showgrounds for Fox Footy's final part of the coverage of the 2017 NAB AFL Draft. All the selections have been made. We're just running through it club by club, giving you a rundown of exactly how each club fared, certainly in the eyes of our experts here. And the Hawks had no early selections, but I think going by the rankings, Luffy, they've picked up a couple of beauties.
It's a good night for the Hawks, I reckon. But Walpole, he's the guy you plan in the middle. He'll just win your clearances. Dylan Moore, we've spoken about Dylan Moore all night. So he's the steal of the night in our eyes. And Jackson Ross, he's a very interesting player. His numbers reflect as small, but he's 192. And for a general forward, he ranked elite in disposals, contested possession, goals, assists and scoring involvements.
This is huge for Hawthorn
So
when you think O'Meara Mitchell last year, Impey already, and then they had absolute stars in the making with Warple and Moore.
It's just not fair.
And Ross, who was in your top 50
John,
rankings
be careful,
as well.
You're getting me a little excited. And I haven't
should
been
get excited,
about
Jason.
a draft for quite a while. Let's turn our attention to the Melbourne Football Club. And this is another team that's on the move, that looks to be heading in the right direction. Have they added enough?
They've addressed their small or general forward issues, I suppose. With Spargo, he's tough. I mean, he would have been a GWS player 12 months ago, but he's tough. Fritsch is from the VFL, and Oscar Baker, he's an interesting one from the NEFL. He's come late, and he had a really good last month of footy.
If Charlie Spargo hadn't have hurt his shoulder, Jono, I think he would have been pushing inside the top 10.
Yeah, definitely. Because he's extremely tough too, Charlie Spargo. Yeah. Like he doesn't give in. It doesn't matter if you're 6'10" or you're 5'2", he'll challenge you in exactly the same manner.
He's a little bit like Richard Douglas when he is the Adelaide Crows.
Yeah,
he's be happy with someone like that.
He plays angry, but he's got the class to do something quite special. Kick a big goal, break a big tackle. He's a star.
Now, Kingy, before the selection started tonight, you identified North Melbourne as one of the clubs that had as much at stake as anybody, with a couple of key selections, in particular 4 and also 23, that they needed to get right.
I think it's the biggest pick that I've ever seen in the draft. If you're going to rebuild a club and only have 2 picks inside of 60, you need to make sure you nail them. And William Walker at 23, I don't know as much as what you do, Luffy, about him, but LDU is what we're going to go with at the Kangas now, because most of us won't be able to say it. He's a beauty. He finds the exits. He's very evasive. I'm not sure he's a tackle breaker as such. He doesn't necessarily strike me as that, but he can go forward and take a big mark. He's exactly what the Kangaroos need.
Of those top midfielders that were taken, he's probably the best ball user. Will Walker, he not elite at anything, but above average in our rankings in a lot of areas. And they've addressed of their 5 picks, 4 were midfielders, and that's what they need to do.
Well, it's one of the names on everyone's lips, even if they can't pronounce it. Here's Ben Dixon, who caught up with Luke Davies-Uniacke.
Luke Davies-Uniacke, I know North Melbourne are absolutely ecstatic that they've got you at that pick. How are you feeling right now?
Yeah, I've been saying this a lot lately, but it's honestly a dream come true. Over the moon. I'm just wrapped to being Melbourne. And yeah, like I said, just looking forward to it.
What about last year? Injury plagued this year. Had to put a solid season together and get yourself back on the radar, albeit sometimes injury steps in its way. But tell us how that was for you this year.
Yeah, so this year I came in just wanting to play as much consistent footy as I could. And I thought I did that. I was pretty wrapped with the way my year went. And yeah, I achieved some goals. And so, yeah, I was stoked and yeah, just glad the year's over and can get started with a new journey.
Well, you got a good coach in Brad Scott. Has he had a brief chat to you and given you any advice on what it's going to be like down there at Kangaland?
Not just yet, but I'm sure it'll be all positive feedback. So,
well done, Lukey. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well done, mate.
The Port Adelaide Football Club is another one that did a lot of their work in the trade period. They picked up Tom Rockcliffe from Brisbane, Stephen Motlop from the Cats, and also Jack Watts from Melbourne. So no early selections for them.
But have a look at what they've done with their late picks. All those guys are well and truly in advance of where we
Look where Joel Garner was rated.
I
24.
can't believe that. I can't believe that.
Fox Lab rankings. They got him at 60.
Got some kickers, some halfback weapons. They're line breakers, they're angles, they're composed, but they're where the game is. Those short 20 to 30 metre kickers, I think, Luffy, have become really important to most counter-attack teams.
They've loaded up in their forward half in the trade period. Now they've got some kickers that can play half-back. Farrell's seen as one of the best kicks at the draft combine.
They've gone to the AFL Academy too in terms of their selections late, Luffy. So they've identified the best kids in the competition. They're still around late in the draft. They've gone for those.
To have pick 47 and onwards and to have a night like that, that's pretty good.
Now, the work of the reigning Premier tonight requires some discussion. Very interesting. Jono and I, we were sitting here. They had pick 17, but then 20 and 25. This is the team that won a premiership with a small forward line, and at 20 and 25 they picked 2 key forwards.
Well, I think the story of the night is Jack Higgins getting all the way to pick 17. I mean, that is unbelievable. I think you said earlier in the night, Glenn, that he's the #1. In terms of statistical data, he's the best in the draft this year.
And the best we've ever recorded in 15 years of doing this stuff. So they've got him. They've addressed the tools, and you'd assume that's for post-Jack Rewalt.
Which one?
And then to get Patrick Naish with their 4th pick, that's pretty good.
Do you think that's an eye to the future, the way they might, if the small forward aspect of their game gets worked out, is that in a couple of years' time, is it that tall they may be able to go to then, or a couple of talls deep again?
Jack's getting on. Jack's getting on now.
Yeah.
Jack's been a magnificent servant for the Richmond Football Club, but they do have to plan for the future, and that's clearly what they've done. But to get Naish with their 4th pick, to not have to use pick 20 or 25, I think is an outstanding success.
Well, he is a father-son, son of Chris Naish, and Ben Dixon has caught up with both father and son.
Pat and Chris Naish, I know your old man was a gun player forward. You said you wanted to play back. I'm not sure he ever ventured down back, but how are you feeling right now? You're actually a Tiger.
Oh, I'm over the moon. Like, I couldn't, I'm pretty speechless. Like, I can't believe it. It's a dream come true.
Chris, St Kilda put the bid in. Richmond jumped over the top, as expected, but as a proud father, you played a lot of footy in your time. How do you feel right now?
Oh, very proud. Yeah, it's a great moment. It's a great moment for the family, and it's something Patrick's wanted to always do, so... a bit like him, we're a little bit over the moon, to be honest with you, Dicko, so, yeah.
He's a good coach too. I know Raiden Tellis, a good mate of his. He's learned a lot. What's he like as a father? Does he give the advice? Is he hard on you? How's he as a dad?
Oh, he's unbelievable. Like, the support he's given me, like, just on and off the field. I can't thank him enough. He's been, a massive support for me and everyone else in the family.
Well, congratulations, Paddy. You're a Tiger, and you're going to a good club there. Coming off a premiership, so it's not a bad time to get down to Tigerland. Thanks for your time.
Cheers, Dicko.
Thank you, Dicko. A great opportunity for the Saints tonight to add some class to their list, given you're kicking off with picks 7 and 8, Luffy.
Well, 7 and 8, safe picks. Caulfield, probably more a general defender, I think. Clark, he was a general defender in his underage year, but came into the midfield, had a very good year. Claverino, one of the best interceptors in the draft. And they've addressed their back half issues. You know, that Montagna is retired, so they've done well there.
He's a smooth mover, Hunter Clark. Have a look at him here. His ability to weave in and out again, stay composed. He's a competitor. He's a tackler. 27 disposals on average through the TAC season. 7 tackles. He's exactly what St Kilda need, really. I mean, they need someone who can be quite evasive and become a star midfielder.
I think that was the one thing we all hung our hat on, saying if St Kilda are going to go forward, they need some genuine class in the midfield, and let's hope they picked it up tonight. Well, Sydney are one of the mysteries of the AFL. They always find a way to stay at the top end, and not necessarily with early selections, although they had pick 14 this time around. Matthew Ling, not ranked as highly in the Fox Lab rankings.
Bit of a surprise. He's sort of come late this year, more of an outside player, Stoddard the same. So maybe they're trying to address their outside needs. And Tom McCartan, really young key forward. I think he's a December 30 or 31 kid, so he was only 2 days away from next year's draft, so he'll be a long-term prospect.
They've got the ball winners, haven't they? They just need that class that's been exposed on the big days in September.
What do the West Coast Eagles need, Kingy?
Well, they just need a bit of luck, Jason. I mean, their list is a real puzzle at the moment, which way it goes. I think it's a real challenge to work out and identify for Adam Simpson and his recruiting staff what the future looks like.
It was interesting there, they took Jared Brander with their first pick. Round 2, though, they went all homegrown talent with Oscar Allen, Liam Wright and Braden Ainsworth. So that was the discussion you had earlier on around that go-home factor, Kingy, and West Coast there showed that rounds 2, they took the class that was all from Western Australia.
He went earlier than I thought, Jason, Liam Ryan. He's the wild card.
And your boy, you love him.
I just love this guy. I think that he's going to have some sort of impact at AFL level. I'm not sure whether he'll do this from minute 1, but this is the package. 40 goals 2 years ago, 73 this year in the Waffle. Look at this kick here.
That clip reminds me so much of Daniel Wells, the balance, the poise, and the way he kicks the footy.
Yeah, and to have the confidence to go back and kick these sorts of goals, I just think this kid really could take the West Coast forward line to a new look. I mean, they're a very tall forward line historically. If he can put forward pressure on, he could be a real acquisition.
We also saw the second of the Brayshaw boys, Hamish, get there late in the draft, and the reaction of his mum, Deb, was priceless. Just so happy to see them both get drafted. So they've lost 2 boys to Perth, but they've gone to different clubs.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it? And that they lose Mitchell and they lose Prettis, so 2 inside midfielders, but they pick 2 up. They get Ainsworth in, who's a 19-year-old, so he was mature age this year and had some really good results this year. And Brayshaw missed last year, but look, he did everything right to get drafted. So they've done well there. They've got 3 WA draft picks. So I think they've had a good night and they've loaded up in the forward half. And Oscar Allen, I think he'll be a star, John.
We did see some great emotion throughout the course of the evening. A few tears spilled by the mums that were here as well. Last but not least, Jono, we can't leave them out. The Western Bulldogs. Are you happy?
Oh, unknown a little bit, to be honest with you. It really is with the 3 picks they've got. Aaron Norton's a very good player. Ed Richards, of course, with the ex-Collingwood connection. So whether they can cheer for the Bulldogs or not, we'll wait and see, the family. And Callum Porter there as well. But, you know, obviously, we get through all the clubs. They'll be happy with, all the clubs will be extremely happy with their selections. But now they've got to put their head down now, these players, and work and really try and find their way in what is a tough system.
Who's the biggest winner tonight? Which club do you think was the biggest winner? Lovey, who do you think was the biggest winner tonight?
I think the Cats, for the short term and where they're at, and they're in premiership mode, I think they've added to that.
Tell them, Jono.
Yeah, I've got my top 3, really. I think
3?
Port Adelaide, with what they've done during the trade period and now in the draft, is very, very good. Hawthorn, of course, with what they selected with their 3 picks, the players that got through to Hawthorn. And Brisbane again, 3 drafts in a row now. I think they've done extremely well, and their future will be rapid over the next 2 or 3 years.
I think the Premiers have stolen the show, Jason. To get Jack Higgins at pick 17 and Nash with a 4th round selection, they're flying.
So that's the 2017 NAB AFL Draft in a nutshell. A big thank you to Sarah Jones, to Mick Ablett, to Kevin Sheehan for their input. Glenn Luff, fantastic. Your debut on screen tonight. Outstanding. Kingy, a big thank you to you. To you, Brad Johnson, thank you very much. And of course, don't forget you can go to foxfooty.com.au for a complete wrap of everything that happened in this year's draft. But for now, that brings our coverage to a close from all of us here on Fox Footy at the Sydney Showgrounds. For the moment, at least, it's good night.